Series by EdwardArtSupplyHands. Part 1. No one or nothing to change but self. I was asked a question about revision, which I thought was a good question. I was basically asked if revision changes the past, which then changes the future. My answer: will you change your attitude towards the past, which inevitably changes your future towards that event? It's not about changing the past or the future. There is no one or nothing to change but self, and self is simply your mind. This makes sense when you think in terms of these concepts, but it misses the point of what Neville is teaching. When you experience something you disliked and it happened a few years ago, where do you think that experience is taking place? If you fear the future, where do you think that is taking place? It is all happening within your mind, self. Past, future only exist in the mind, and you have the luxury to change what you wish in your mind. Don't think in terms of the past or future. It becomes too confusing on what exactly to do. Remember, no one or nothing to change but self. The way you change self is to imagine with feeling anything you want. It must be something you want, not something you think you should want, or something you have to want or else. Remove consequences from the mind. Remove all punishments and pardon yourself from guilt. Remove having to get things. Remove that stress. You do this by simply imagining what you want with the feeling of actual freedom to do so. Some memory bothering you? Yes, this happens to me every day, but this is something I learned when this happens. When those thoughts that make me cringe inside, I ask myself, where is this taking place? Within me. Who is cringing? Me. Who is imagining this? Me. Once I reassure myself that it is all within me, from here I can change it. I then ask, can I change my feeling? Yes. Can I change this to how I want it to go? Yes. Can I let this go entirely if I wish to let it go? Yes. Can I imagine what I wish? Yes. Then I do it. I do not wait to do it, even if it is nagging at me. I learn to not change, but change to what I want. Once I go to precisely what I want, I'm always given a surge of feelings of ecstasy. It is automatic. I do not force, no need to. Why would I need to? If I am imagining exactly what I want, my feeling will happen naturally. It must be exactly what I want, or else I struggle to feel. Creating my own heaven in my mind is my goal. Neville tells us to not live in desire. The Bible tells to stop sinning. William Blake tells us to not suppress our desire. Take these words very seriously. If you have a tiny bit of desire, no matter how small, Neville tells us to fulfill it mentally. Keep pruning each day. Remove rules. Remove consequences. Remove the outer world when you imagine. Remove all ideas of what you should do or have to do. Do what you want. Over time from practicing this, I noticed that the answer is always the same. Whenever I am not feeling and imagining well, the answer is this: I am not imagining what I want. This is always my answer. The moment I actually go towards exactly what I want, I become fulfilled. The fears all away and bliss comes. I do not care what the world thinks about it. I do not care what my circumstances are. I do not care whether or not it will ever happen. I do not care what fear pops up. None of that matters to me. All that matters is that I fulfill it within me. This is what actually changes me. This is how I find happiness. I make consciousness my only reality. For example, Neville said this: "You want to be free of all embarrassment. How would you feel this night if you were not embarrassed, that not a thing in the world could embarrass you? How would you feel were it so?" Here is a quote that must be taken seriously. You see, I always felt the world is unsafe. I would act upon this feeling, always feeling uneasy, and I would create thoughts of me being harmed from the world. But imagining that my world is safe, I get all sorts of feelings. I get feelings and thoughts like, "Sure, you can imagine that, but come on. There are crazy people out there. It would be nice to believe that, but people can be harmful, etc." But that is what I want. I want to feel that. I want to experience that. I want to imagine that and believe that. That is what I want. Why reject myself from that experience? Neville is saying, what if nothing could embarrass you? What if your world was safe? What if your world always worked toward the fulfillment of your desires instead of having opposition? When I assume it, I do not care about how it will happen or when, or even if it is possible. All I care about is changing my entire feeling to exactly what I want. Then, in its own strange way, it grows in my world. This is what I mean by giving yourself what you truly want. Find something deep that you want and dare to assume it. This is what truly changes the self, and that self will be expressed. I hope everyone who hears this becomes more blessed in their lives. I hope all of you fulfill every little desire within yourself, down to the tiniest ones. Sometimes those are the best. Part 2. Let go of control and control self. When Neville was drafted in the army, Neville did not want to go. They told him, "Isn't that the act of a coward?" He said, "I didn't care what they said." Why? Because there is no objective reality, meaning the idea of a coward to one is different to another. Everyone perceives things different. You may be grand in one's eyes, but evil in another. The trick is not to care about either and go to what you want. But I want to touch on something important from this story. But first, when Neville wanted to be with his second wife, he was struggling and wondering how it will come about. He talks about how he started thinking of how he is going to get a divorce with his current wife. He has not spoken with her in a while. How is he going to just speak with her? What is she going to say, etc.? He admits he forgot to exercise this law. Yes, Neville, the guy who teaches this stuff, forgot to exercise it. It happens to everyone, even if you know it. But he did not blame himself. Instead, he went straight to the law. He let go of all the house and slept in the assumption that he was married with that woman. He fell asleep as the one he wanted to be. It was what his heart desired. Never blame, only resolve. Neville. So back to the army story. He must have learned to let go to the how, because he had people implying he is a coward, but he did not care. He learned that he must fulfill his heart's desire. Who else can fulfill the desires in your heart other than you? He imagined he was out, but then was quickly rejected. Here is where I think that many of us miss this lesson. Neville imagined what he wanted as though he had it already. He slept in a room with men, in a tiny bed. Yet in his mind, he slept in New York, in his room. He did what he wanted. But after he did this, he was rejected. After rejection, what did he do? Did he say, "This shit does not work. I imagined and nothing happened. I was rejected. The world is just simply greater than my mind. I never get what I want"? Did he react negatively to his rejection? Maybe a touch, who wouldn't? But did he complain? Did he feel that he cannot get what he wants? No. And honestly, I would not even get mad if he thought that. It is only natural to feel that. But we are not called to be natural, but to not sin. We must not sin. Neville was able to not react even after rejection because Neville was not imagining to get out in a sense. He was imagining who and where he wanted to be. This is a huge difference. If he was imagining just to get out and control the outer world, guess what? He just got rejected. From this intention, he is going to feel completely defeated. If that had been his sole purpose, to just simply make something happen, then he lost. He imagined to change his mind, to change his feeling of I. He imagined to change the only thing that is being expressed, himself. Neville at this time knew he can change reality if he changes himself. Since he was solely imagining on changing the feeling of himself, he was able to persist regardless of circumstances. He did not care what others said, where he was at in the world, or his rejection. He only cared about imagining what he wanted. From doing exactly that, he was about to imagine that way effortlessly for 9 days. He even said he was doing physical training for the army, but all he could think and feel is ecstasy. He was feeling what he wanted, not what he must feel or have to feel to get out. No, solely to have only what he wanted in his mind. He let go of controlling his outer world and controlled himself. The world is reflecting self, and self is everything you think you have and are. When he got rejected, he could have thought, I am stuck, I have to stay here. Instead, he changed himself. He changed what he believed he was and had in his mind. Now he believed he was back in New York. He has his bed back, his wife back, etc. He has what he wants in his mind. This is how I do it. When I close my eyes, this world is shut out, and I, like Isaac, am blind to the outer world. Then I feel myself into the state of my desire. With my inner eye, I see it all around me. I sense its solidity, and when my 5 senses are awakened, I have the feeling of relief, knowing it is accomplished. Neville, wonder-working power. Neville removes the idea or concept of there even being an outer world when he imagines. He then feels what he wishes, sees what he wishes. The great secret is the most freeing. It is to do anything you wish in your mind. You truly are your most high in your mind. You are so powerful in your mind that nobody can imprison you. You can only imprison yourself. Nobody can free you. You can only free yourself. You are the ruler in your mind. You can be the king or the peasant. It is entirely up to you, to what you desire to be in your mind. Don't think in terms of things coming to you. Think in terms of things coming from you. This means it was within you all along. Part 3. He who will not live by love must be subdued by fear. Part 3 also contains 2 meditations. I will leave the link for these meditations in the info section beneath this video. Last night, I felt the most safe, loved that I've ever felt in my life. I was literally laughing from joy, a joy that was just here from removing fears. I was not even really thinking of anything. I just could not contain myself. I was just laughing away. I felt so at ease, and all I've been doing are these meditations. While I was feeling deep, deep love, I had a few thoughts come up and I want to share them. We are going to tackle fear. If you have been doing these meditations, and if you do them correctly, you will notice your fear levels going down. I've already received success stories on these meditations. Several people have commented and privately messaged to me telling me that their anxieties are almost non-existent with doing these meditations a few times. Again, let me stress this. You can remove all your fears if you do what you want in your mind. If you consistently apply these meditations, you will open up a level of freedom within your mind that you never knew was there. Your body will feel open. You will take a whole different view of your desires. You will see how much greater you are than your desires, that you actually are creating it all in your mind. I want to now tackle fear. William Blake said this: "He who will not live by love must be subdued by fear." This is absolutely true. When you are doing these meditations and you are not doing what you love, you must be subdued by fear. Fear will eventually, even if it is slow, conquer you, if and only if you are not filling your mind with what you love. If you do not choose love, you must be subdued by fear. Surely you know this by now. How often do we think in terms of fear, thinking it will protect us? When has it ever protected us? When has feeling fearful become the new safety? The first manifestation of fear is within the body. The body becomes afraid, the gut tightens and the muscles tense. Breathing becomes shallow and frustrations start to form. These irritations then come back to the mind, and the mind naturally starts to think of things it dislikes. Fear bears fruit of guilt, paranoia, uneasiness, sabotage, rage, etc. But the root is fear. So the goal is not to change each and every fearful thought. It is not to argue and contemplate on the fear. However, doing that is not in itself harmful, but it is more of a detour. To get to the true heart of the issue, we must remove fear entirely. The only reason you are even thinking fearful things is because you feel fear. If you did not feel fear, you would not ever think fearful things. So how does one overcome their fears? First, it is by understanding that fears are within us. They are not in the world, but within. So when you do the I am the Creator meditation, and you remove the outer world, you will start to feel a sense of power within. Now, while you are doing this meditation, you may feel some fearful thoughts come up. What do you do then? Do you fight them? Try to reason your way out of the feeling of fear. Try to force a good thought. This is the wrong approach. You are still not understanding who you are within if you do that. Never blame yourself for fearful thoughts. Never blame, only resolve them within. You have the power to resolve to what you want. Don't waste that power on blaming yourself. You are the creator. This means you are creating that fearful thought. When the fearful thought comes up, take full responsibility for it. See it as your creation. This means you are always greater than what you are creating in your mind. The fearful thought is only there because you created it to be there. It has no power of its own. It is truly all your dream. Feel the words. I am in control. I am the creator here. You do not have to justify why you are not feeling fear, why you are choosing to feel love. You can just feel it and intensify it. No need to rationalize, just feel. Second, when you take responsibility for that fearful thought as your creation, ask yourself this simple question. What is it that I would love to think? From here, as the creator, you can start to think, go towards love. Love is the most powerful thing, if you will, within you. Why? Because it never fails to transform self. Fear can stagnate, but love transforms. Why is this important? Remember the reasons we are doing this. We are not trying to manipulate reality or force some change upon the physical world. That will happen naturally. Why? Because your world is reflecting self. Since it is reflecting self, then how can we transform self in the most efficient and best way possible? Through love. By actually going within our minds and doing what we love, having what we love. This changes us at our very core. From this new feeling of freedom and love, you will find it incredibly easy to think what you want. You will even find it harder to feel fear. This ease in love starts to become your natural state. People will start treating you in a better way. You won't even have to imagine every little thing going your way, it just will. Things you wanted months ago start appearing in your world. Things that bothered you deeply literally have no effect on you anymore. Why? Because you are no longer desiring, no longer fearing. You are living in fulfillment. Fulfillment in love. You are actually living what you love within, and this love expresses itself without. To reiterate, when you are doing these meditations and you get the resistance, which is just fear, remember the words of Neville. To repent is simply man's ability to entertain the nature of the opposite. Can you entertain the opposite of the nature of fear? Can you entertain love? Is that not what you want? This whole terrible mindset, I was like this before, of I must do sats correctly or else. Sats being the state akin to sleep. I must read this book and do these self-help actions. I must understand this perfectly. I must find the missing key to manifesting. Don't you get it? You are the missing key, self. Self is the missing key. Change self by doing and having what you want in your mind. Once you do this, you will start to see how silly things are. How I wake up at 5:30 a.m. and I go on a 10-mile run, and I eat cow shit because of the vitamins and this and that. And look, there's nothing wrong with that. In fact, I admire the dedication. But is that what you want to do? Do you honestly think that if you ran in the morning, you will get what you want? Or if you do sats 5 times a day, you will get what you want? Do you not realize you only get what you want when you give it to yourself? God gives man what man first gives himself. If you do not believe me, try it. If you think doing these meditations does nothing, try it. See what happens when you remove your fears for a bit. The true self must be exalted, Part 4. If you have been following my writings lately, I wrote out that meditation. That meditation referring to the I Am the Creator meditation, which will be linked in the info section beneath this video. People who have done it successfully have removed resistance in their minds. They discovered resistance is created by themselves. They discovered they are the creator in their minds. I wrote how you must remove the outer world from the mind, and I think I need to expand on that. Hopefully this different view shows you exactly what I mean. It comes down to who you think you are, who you are identifying yourself with. In order for this meditation to truly work, and in order to feel completely free, you must identify yourself with the one within you. So when you go to meditate, close your eyes and remove the outer world. It is just this blackness, this sacred area of creation. This place is where you can conjure up images and words you want to hear, or what you don't want to hear and see, but you are doing it all. Now listen to the voice in your mind, your awareness. Please understand this. That is you. That is the true you, not the body. That is self. When Neville says, leave the world just as it is and change self, no one to change but self, he means the self that is within, the only self there is. Why leave the world alone? Because it is only an expression of self. Why does he say to change that and that alone? Because self must be expressed. That is the law. You don't have to doubt, is my imaginal act going to come to pass? Who is doubting? Self. Who is worrying? Self. What gets expressed? Self. You can always trust that self will be expressed. Here's what I mean. That voice, the one in you that imagines, is you. That is the one who is desiring. That is the one who wants to be exalted. That is the one who wants to have their desires fulfilled. Discard the outer world, and that includes your identification with the body. This is all an expression of that self. So just take a moment and close your eyes and see the blackness. Then pay attention to your inner voice. That is the one who is desiring. That is the one who is in pain. That is the one who wants to be free from its bondage. That is the one who needs to be exalted, the true self. That is the one who wants to see beauty, to hear good news. That is the one who desires to live a lovely life. So give it to yourself in your mind. It is incredibly simple. If you take what I say seriously, you will change how you see and live life. You will identify yourself from within, and you will grant your every wish from within. It does not matter if it is impossible. If your self wants it, grant it within. There are no rules for that self. If it wants guilt gone, then remove guilt in the mind. Feel forgiven, and it's all fine. That self, the true you, is desiring that. There are no rules that says you can't have. The beautiful thing is that the inner world can give you anything. I hate separating you and self because they are not separate, but I am just doing that for clarity. If you embarrass yourself in your mind or hurt yourself, spark fear into yourself, you are doing that to self, that true you which is expressed. You worry about what society thinks, what so-and-so might think. Who is worrying? Self. It is all you. Then you feel hurt, scared, and you feel you can have what you want, but who is hurt and scared? Your body? No, it is the inner you, the true you. The one who can shed its skin, state, like a snake. When you are fearing, who is doing it? That self, you. It is imagining it. But that self does not want to feel that fear anymore. It desires to imagine something new. But since you identify yourself with the outer world, an outer self instead of your true self, an inner world, where everything is possible, you remain stuck. Self becomes irritated, fearful, etc. You feel fear in your body, your irritations. That angst will forever remain until you fulfill it within. So that self that you are scaring, embarrassing, gets expressed. If you want to change, leave the fearful, embarrassing, irritating world just as it is. Do exactly what Neville says. Then identify yourself fully with your true self, the one that is desiring within. Then fulfill all your dreams to its fullest. We already do this, but we do it in ways that are harmful to self. We try to eat this and that, and read this and that to save self. But self cannot be saved by outer means. Self always wants fulfillment. So identify yourself not with this world, but with the one within, the one who is truly desiring. Imagining is Fun, Part 5. A fundamental truth in regards to thoughts and feelings that I discovered is this. Thoughts come from your feeling. Do you understand what that means? Truly, do you see how that changes everything? This means all those thoughts of fear, all those thoughts of what bad things could happen, all the thoughts of what if it never happens. Every one of them comes from the feeling. If you are truly honest with yourself, and you take an objective, critical examination of your mind, ask yourself this: where are these thoughts coming from? Or in other words, what is generating these thoughts? The moment a thought that sparks fear into you happens, if you pay close attention, very close attention, and slow it all down, you will notice that it was not the thought that happened first. It was the feeling of fear that happened first. This is so difficult to notice, but if you pay attention, you will see it. What does this all mean then, and why is it important? This is crucial because it is the feeling that is the cause of the thought. Then that means the thought has no power of its own. That means the thought has no truth in itself. That means the thought is created. It means that if you change your feeling, all the thoughts necessary for you to think for your bridge of incidents are already laid out for you. It means you don't have to worry if you are having the right thoughts or if you're saying the right things in your mind. No more trying to think perfectly. So many times I had fearful thoughts or doubting thoughts, and I would wonder, what is the underlying belief? What belief do I have to change in order to stop having these thoughts? Then I would find something like, I am safe. Then I would repeat that all day long in my mind, trying to change the belief. But a belief is just a feeling. It feels true. From that position, you think in the nature of those thoughts. Change the word belief to feeling. Think only in terms of these: creating, feeling, and thinking. You create the feeling you want, and from that, thoughts come. That is a state. Remove this idea that beliefs are hard to change and they are blockages in your subconscious, that the resistance must be conquered and all of that. You are just making this far more complicated to free yourself in your own mind. It is your mind, and you can do and feel what you like. You are creating all your blockages, and you are creating the difficulty in removing them. Now change the word belief to feeling, because the word belief sounds too difficult to change. But once you understand a belief is merely a feeling, just like desiring is just a feeling, the idea of changing a feeling sounds completely achievable. Because in the end, that is all that must be changed, because from there, you think thoughts in correlation with the nature of the feeling. What you feel to be true is self, and there's nothing to change but self. Feeling is everything. Fearful feeling gives birth to fearful thoughts. If you change your feeling, you would simply see there's no truth in your fearful thoughts. The only reason why you believe them to be true is simply because you feel it. Let's give an example. You are lying in bed and then the thought of someone breaking into your house enters your mind. Then you feel fear, and then the thoughts start to feel real to you. Then you worry if it will manifest into your life, etc. Then you try to find the underlying belief, and then you randomly pick some belief that makes sense. Maybe you think of memories from your childhood, teenage years, etc. Then you try to create a new belief to replace the old one. So you repeat, I'm safe in my house. You repeat this over and over, trying to get yourself to believe this. Maybe you will feel a bit relieved tonight, but tomorrow it happens again. Cycle continues. This was my way for a long time, and let me tell you, it sucks. It's a crappy and inefficient way of changing yourself. It is stressful and lacks understanding of self. Here is a far, far better way to approach it. You are laying in bed, the thought of a robber comes. Fear sparks, the thought seems real. You stop it right there. Ask yourself, why am I creating this? The answer is, because of my feeling of fear. So I feel fear, and from this, I think of robbers. There is no truth in the thought of being robbed. It is just generated by my feeling. If I were to change my feeling, all those thoughts would cease, and just like the robber thought happened naturally, I would think from the new feeling naturally. So there is simply an underlying feeling of being unsafe. Remove this whole belief of being unsafe. Understanding it is just a feeling helps you see what you need to change. Then understand that it is all happening in your mind. Realize you can feel safe in your mind. You can feel entirely confident and safe in your mind. Then remind yourself of this truth. I can feel safe in here. In here, I am entirely safe. This is feeling. Then start to feel that. Just feel it. Don't question or reason or think. Just feel. Why just feel? Here's why. Remember, we think from our feelings. This is how we know if we are in a state. So just feel and feel and feel. Give yourself entirely to the feeling, because the feeling is your end. Then you will naturally think from that position. There is no work on your part. So bring yourself back to the Creator. Stop identifying yourself with the thoughts and understand they are coming from the feeling. From this, you simply change your feeling to what you want to feel. Your answer to what you should do and feel is always in your wants. To truly change your feeling, it must be a feeling you deeply, deeply want to feel. I must stress that if you sincerely feel what you have always wanted to feel, you will naturally think from that position. That is a state. That is living in the end. It is all feelings. It cannot be something that you semi-want that will never change you. It will change for a bit, but you will never commit to it. It must be a feeling you are yearning for. Example from my own self. I used to be critical on myself in my mind in a negative way, not healthy. I would call myself names and put myself down in my mind. I would consistently feel guilty for what I have done or what I might do. I thought it was possible to fix because I tried so hard and nothing changed to me. Or if it did, it would only last a week, and I am back to feeling like shit and talking down to myself. I would naturally think of punishments coming my way, and I would try to change those thoughts to change my feeling. I would rationalize my way out for hours, to only find myself entering a new cave. My gut always had this underlying feeling of tension. I tried my best to give myself relief, but like I said, I could not find relief for more than a week, maybe a month here and there. I wanted relief, but everything I did just did not work. I would do sats, the state akin to sleep, and replay the scene over and over, mental diet all day. When it comes to this stuff, you name it, I tried it. But over time I realized I was attacking thoughts, the agent Smiths in my mind, not the actual cause. The truth is, you can think anything in your mind, but most importantly, you can feel anything in your mind. You can actually feel what you want. I do not mean just a basic want, like, I am loved. That is good, but don't you want to feel more than that? Neville said, "Don't tell me what you don't want. Tell me what you want." What do you want? Just a bit of love, or do you really want to feel like you are the most loved being in all of existence, and there's nothing but love in your mind, and everyone in your mind cherishes you and desires deeply to help you in your life, and you don't have to do anything to receive this amount of love? Why not feel that? Because of what? Fear? You are afraid to feel that. If you don't feel that, you are rejecting yourself from that experience. So do not complain when the world rejects you of it. Free yourself in your mind entirely. Stop caring if it will happen or what will happen. Reality is your mind. It reflects self. Now that I'm feeling what I want to feel, what I have always wanted to feel, I find myself having difficulty criticizing myself. Whenever I have an old thought come up, I just don't feel or fear it at all. It does not seem real to me anymore. That is how I know all that fear was an illusion. It always has been. I cannot seriously sit down to talk down to myself anymore, especially not after the Pharaoh meditation. This will be linked in the info section beneath this video. I am making myself king in my mind. I don't have to talk down to myself. I love seeing how myself is being reflected too. People are seeing me in a whole different way, because I am seeing myself entirely different. I'm seeing myself how I want to see myself, because I can, and so can you. This should be so much fun as well. I was speaking with a good friend yesterday, and we were laughing about this. He asked, "So what do you do when you are speaking with someone and you don't want to listen to them?" I said, "I imagine what I want. Now truth is, I sometimes get annoyed. It is only human, but I have a mind." Then he said, "So you just hear them saying, 'You are so awesome. You are the greatest.'" And I said, "If that is what I want to hear, yes." It always comes down to my wants in my mind. I want to fulfill all of them. That is my goal. Excuse my cursing, but I fucking hate living in desire. I know this is a long post, but listen to these words. Feel everything you want, and the thoughts will come. It is fun. It is only fun if you imagine and feel what you want. It's not fun trying to get or trying to manifest or checking the world to see if it is growing. Growth, getting what you want, experiencing what you want is within. You don't have to sit down and burst a blood vessel, pounding out the details of your desire. You can imagine as you walk down the street. A simple assumption is easy and can be lots of fun. Feeling is the secret. Neville. This post is a bit more metaphoric for those who enjoy that type of writing. I know I do. I do not want to do this, but I should because I must do it this way or else I might get punished. I have to do this or else it won't happen, etc. Should I? I must. I have to. These are rules we create in the mind. Why do we do it? We do it for the simple reason that we are trying to control the world. With our physical actions, we are trying to control it. The moment we do not do what we should do, we bring anxiety, guilt, shame upon ourselves. Go online and you will see countless videos telling you what you should do or what you have to do or worse, must do. What happens if you don't? Well then, you are called all sorts of names. Failure, worthless, or you don't try hard enough, etc. Please hear what I am saying. Remove all these rules. How? By doing and feeling what you want to do in your mind. Just go for the thought and feeling. Once you do that, you are successful. You are on your way to freeing yourself in your mind. This is what removes all these rules. It removes this good and bad, best or worse. If a rule pops up, which is a feeling that stops you, ask yourself, do I want to follow this rule? No? Then don't. It's your mind anyways. You created the rule in the first place. When you are following these rules in your mind, you are eating from the tree of good and evil. What happens to those who eat from that tree? They die. They fall asleep. They think the world is outside of them, so they create all these rules to control it. Life to them is random, a wild entity that must be controlled. You see, these rules give birth to frustrations, irritations, guilt, and a low self-concept. They put you in bondage. When you try to escape, but you still hold onto these rules, you create a hydra in the mind. You may kill one thought, but then two more come. You keep fighting it, but these frustrations grow and grow, but you are creating the hydra. William Blake once said, "He who desires but acts not breeds pestilence." Pestilence, a contagious or infectious epidemic disease that is virulent and devastating. How more accurate can you get? If you do not act or are not a doer, you breed diseases, one that is not at ease. Those are the plagues in Scripture. A doer is one that looks into the perfect law of liberty, the law that frees you. You act when you eat from the tree of life. William Blake is saying nothing different than what was said in Proverbs. Hope deferred makes the heart sick, but a desire fulfilled is a tree of life. So when you eat from the tree of life, you are fulfilling your desires within. Consequently, you are healing your heart. If you do what you want in your mind, you will do what you should, have, and must do in the world. People will enter that you never knew before. Opportunities you did not even know existed appear. The world is a deck, and it gives you a daily hand. But with your mind, you can reshuffle the deck and choose the cards you want. Just try it for a bit. Taste the word of God, if you will. Taste the word and sweet how it is. How sweet are your words to my taste. Yes, sweeter than honey to my mouth. Psalm 119:103. Yes, may the words you speak in your mind be sweeter, yes, sweeter than honey. I know I'm sounding like a broken record now, but this is essential. Sometimes it needs to be repeated over and over in various ways for it to finally click in the mind. Once it clicks, you feel a shift happen. Go with it. Intensify that shift. That shift will bring you power and freedom, because it is the catalyst that opens your mind to feeling and doing whatever you want in it. Hydras, trees, fruits, plagues, decks, and honey. Hopefully, this more metaphoric approach will help some see and feel what I'm saying. So start with the feeling. I can have and feel whatever I want in my mind. Once you make this your core feeling inside of you, you will naturally start to think from this position. I'm not going to tell you you are crazy. Part 7. Wow, 7 parts now. This one may be my favorite so far. I touched on how we should do everything we want in our minds with no fear. How doing what we want, which is so simple, frees us. I must say, since doing and feeling what I want in my mind, I've never felt so normal, so happy. I genuinely mean that. The moment I have any desire in me, I fulfill it. No questions asked by me. I don't care what it is, how big or small. I do not condition it, or wonder if it is possible anymore, or going to work. I just do it. This is starting to become normal, and honestly, feel normal. When I was trying to abide by all these rules, that is when I felt crazy. Neville says it clearly here, that we create the lack and rise within and not condition our desires. Realize that you yourself brought about this condition of waste and lack, and make the decision within yourself to rise to a higher level. The reason most of us fail to realize our desires is because we are constantly conditioning them. Do not condition your desire. Just accept it as it comes to you. Neville. If you've been following along, we have touched on how we can do what we want within, changing self, metaphors, and now we will focus on an example from Neville. This is my favorite story of Neville, when he was called crazy by Abdullah. This story resonated with me at first because I was just like Neville. I wanted rules to follow, so I can feel good about myself. I remember being a Christian, and I tried my best to follow the rules. No alcohol, no sex, no smoking weed. Just reading the Bible and doing what I could for the church. Deep down, I wanted to please God. But now I feel like both characters in this story. When I first read it, I understood Neville, and I somewhat understood Ab. Now I must say, I'm pretty close to understanding Ab in full. All these rules are so stupid to me now. That's all I can feel now after doing what I want within. I just feel it's all stupid, but at the same time, I feel so normal for thinking it's stupid, even though at one point, I thought following those types of rules was the way to live. If you really see your mind as the reality, and you fulfill your desires within, you will see how stupid it all is. For example, I wanted my guilt removed from me. I wanted to stop feeling guilty, because from this feeling, I would create all sorts of punishments for myself. These punishments never failed to manifest in my world, because it is just reflecting self. So when I started to feel that I could do and feel what I want in my own mind, I simply realized I do not want to feel guilty. I do not want it, and that is enough for me to stop it and give myself what I want instead. So I stopped doing that. It's not what I wanted. It truly was that simple. I would spend years trying to remove it, and I never could. But now I see I am creating the guilt in me. Nobody other than me is creating the fear in me. I wanted it gone, so I started to feel I can have what I want. I allowed myself the freedom to have peace instead of guilt. I allowed myself the freedom to feel whatever I wanted. I stopped feeling scared in my own mind and felt that I could do anything there. I stopped following the rules. You must feel grateful. You must make sure you fall asleep perfectly in the feeling. Make sure you think these thoughts instead of those bad ones. Let me tell you, the greatest self-concepts, the greatest feelings, the greatest thoughts are the ones you want to have. So let's get into my favorite story. Let me tell you why I'm doing what I'm doing today. It was back in 1933 in the city of New York, and my old friend Abdullah, with whom I studied Hebrew for 5 years, was really the beginning of the eating of all my superstitions. When I went to him, I was filled with superstitions. I could not eat meat. I could not eat fish. I could not eat chicken. I could not eat any of these things that were living in the world. I did not drink. I did not smoke. And I was making a tremendous effort to live a celibate life. So here, Neville is telling us why he is even imagining in the first place, why he is doing this. Because even though I feel normal doing this, to others it may seem crazy. But I don't care. it is just a reflection. Just feel. Nobody can embarrass you for what you say. Neville had all these rules he must follow or else. So he is trying to be good. In some ways, many people would actually applaud his efforts. Actually, most would. He is living a moral, honest, and dedicated life. To the world, he might be looked at as being very healthy for not smoking or drinking. So many people, and myself included, although not so much now, would become afraid at the thought of giving yourself the freedom of having no more rules. Or we point to the world and think, people can't just eat and drink what they want. You can't just sleep around all the time. Smoking is not good and it should not be done. But again, no one to change but self. This is not about other people. This is about you. There is no need to focus on what others should do here. Other people are not your concern. Your only concern should be, am I doing and feeling what I want in my mind right now? You will naturally find yourself surrounded by people who reflect you. Abdullah said to me, I am not going to tell you you are crazy, Neville. But you are, you know. All these things are stupid. But I could not believe they were stupid. Neville simply could not see how these things were stupid. He followed all these rules to be good. So what is the underlying feeling here? He feels like he is wrong or bad. So he creates rules to tame this wrongness, and if he follows the rules, he then can call himself good. He is trying to find a way to be good. We all have been there. Neville calls this state John the Baptist. He says that all the religions in the world are in the state of John the Baptist, this mindset of rules. Neville once said, we must learn to know ourselves as infinite love, as good rather than evil. This is not something that we have to become. It is rather for us to recognize something that we already are. Do not just do this for infinite love, but apply this to everything. So what changed in Neville? He saw something. He changed. Abdullah called him crazy because he was. Neville, although the world may think he is living a well-structured life, Ab saw him as crazy. Why? Because when you free yourself in your mind, all these rules are just plain stupid. Not drinking a beverage does not make you worthy of anything. It doesn't make sense. Do it if you want to, and if you don't want to, then don't do it. But to have these worries or quibbles, as Ab called them, is to be crazy. Adding guilt to yourself is nothing more than being crazy. No one can punish you if you do not punish yourself. Others will condemn us only as long as we continue in that for which we condemn ourselves. So, happy is the man that condemneth himself not, and that which he alloweth. For to life nothing is condemned, all is expressed. Life does not care whether you call yourself rich or poor, strong or weak. It will eternally reward you with that which you claim as true of yourself. The measurements of right and wrong belong to man alone. To life there's nothing right or wrong. Neville. I remembered what Abdullah had said to me. After you have proven this law, you will become normal, Neville. You will come out of that graveyard. You will come out of the dead past where you think you are being holy. For all you are really doing, you know. You're being so good, Neville, you are good for nothing. These words are pretty intense. Imagine living a life, putting all this effort to be good, and someone tells you you are crazy, and you are good for nothing. Abdullah truly thought it was stupid beyond respect. If you live a life with all these rules, Ab would tell you, you are living in a graveyard. But the most fascinating thing he said here is, after you have proven the law, you will become normal. Normal. This is a feeling. So to Ab, giving yourself what you want in your mind is normal. It is abnormal to not give yourself what you want. Isn't that amazing? You will always reflect yourself, and you will prove the law to yourself. To prove this law, you must start with giving yourself what you want without condition in the mind first. Or else you will point to some physical cause. You won't believe you caused it. But to Ab, knowing you are the cause, that makes you normal. If you want to truly prove this law, start with changing self radically. See yourself entirely different. by feeling what you want to be. It was the year 1933. I was unemployed and had no place to go except a little room on 75th Street. I went straight to my old friend Abdullah and said to him, "Ab, the strangest feeling is possessing me. For the first time in 12 years, I want to go to Barbados." "If you want to go, Neville, you have gone," he replied. "If you want to go, you have gone. There is a desire, then fulfill it to the end with no conditioning. All done in the mind. You go to the end, not because you must, but because that is what you want. You feel that you have it, not because you must, but because that is what you want. You visualize yourself there in the end, not because you must, but because that is what you want. So when the feeling or desire comes upon you, as it did Neville, you do what Ab says, because that is what you want to do. Suppose my wants cannot materialize for 6 months to a year. Do I wait to imagine them? What is Neville's answer? When the feeling or desire comes upon you, that is the time to accept its fullness. Do not wait. Do not put it off. Accept in fullness. That is truly what you want to do. Guilt is feeling that you are not able to think what you want. You may desire to think and feel what you want, but the moment you do that, you restrict yourself of that for the sake of the past or fear the future. You may think of things that you've done that you dislike, or things that were done to you that you dislike, and because of this, you can't imagine what you want. But the questions you should ask yourself are, is that what you want? Do you want to restrict yourself? Do you want to guilt yourself or fear the future? Of course not. Then learn to give yourself what you want in your mind. And what you want is freedom, to have what you want. This issue is resolved by feeling that you can have what you want. Feeling in Self, Part 8. A question that keeps popping up in this series is, how do I feel? Or what is the feeling you are talking about? I hope I can answer this for you. Now let's first get honest with ourselves. I'm sure when you first found out about this material, you were imagining yourself on a beach somewhere, something like that. I remember when I first heard Neville, I thought he was satanic, lol. Then I heard him quote the Bible and I was intrigued. I studied his interpretation of the Bible and I did not really care about the law. Then I got interested in the law, and I remember I started to imagine myself in Hawaii, things of that nature. But if I'm being honest, I never really wanted to go to Hawaii. I don't care that much about vacations. I don't really care about a lot of things. I'm into clothes, books, so I have the clothes and books I want. But for the typical things people want, I never really wanted those things. I've always been a contrarian. I'm sure you have as well. It is sort of hard not to be when you study this stuff, because it is so widely different than what is taught. And studying it is one thing, actually accepting it another. If you accepted these teachings, no, you are not crazy. You are simply interested in your mind and its power. You want to know the cause. The cause is the most important thing to discover. Want the feeling. I say all of that to say this. If you are not imagining and feeling what you truly want, you will never really change. Yes, you may be a bit better here and there, and then you fall backwards. Sure, beaches are and mansions are cool, but is that what you deeply want? I'm not saying you should not imagine those things, because you can imagine anything. You can imagine what you want, but in order to really feel a change in self, it must be something you deeply want. Why? Because you won't stick to it. If you do something you dislike long enough, you will become bitter. Neville says, we must want to change self. I know I said we should remove must, should, have tos from the mind, but that was in the nature of consequences. You don't have to want punishments if you don't want to. We must want to change. We must want to think greater and greater. We must want to feel the best. We must want it. We must want to feel abundant. We must want to feel the best feelings for the sake of feeling the best. Not because of some consequence if we don't, but because we remain as we are if we don't. This is punishment enough. Do you see the difference? And no one puts new wine into old wineskins. Matthew 9:17. Once you start to feel the freedom of feeling after what you want more of that feeling, that freedom, we have to develop this want. Our want of feeling the best feelings must supersede our habit of feeling lack. So the first part is to want the feeling. What feeling? Whatever feeling your heart wants. It must be something you deeply want to feel. If not, you either remain as you are, or you will change, but eventually you will go back to your former self. Jesus replied, "No one who puts a hand to the plow and looks back is fit for service in the kingdom of God." Luke 6:92. The only way to not look back is by wanting to not look back, not by suffering through it. If you want to feel better, if you want to feel yourself to be the greatest in your mind, if you want it, you will not look back. If you are consistently going back to your former self, that self that you want to outgrow, you have not stirred up in you a deep enough want, or you are not sure what you want. You might have an idea of what you want, but spend some time discovering your deep wants, and give them to yourself by giving yourself the feeling if it were true. All done in the mind. That will truly change you. How to feel the feeling. This is the most common question I get, but it is actually the simplest thing to do. Understand everything is an assumption. All those thoughts you are thinking are assumptions, and the mind does not care what you think. If you want to get rid of guilt in the mind, it does not stop you, only yourself does. The mind holds nothing back. Want to change the memory and feel different about it? You can do it. Want to make the great feeling you are feeling even better? You can do that. Want to feel excited about tomorrow for no reason? You can do that. Want to guilt yourself over mistakes you made years ago, and then conjure up future punishments that spark fear into you and leave you stagnant? You got it. Want to feel that nobody can punish you? There you go. The mind does not withhold anything. We do. But how does one feel? The word is acceptance. Remember what was wrote in part 7. Neville says, when the desire comes upon you, even if it cannot possibly materialize in 6 months to a year, to accept its fullness anyways. We are not talking about just any desire, but a desire where it cannot materialize in 6 months to a year. How many of your desires cannot materialize in 6 months to a year? Bet none of them. And Neville says, to accept it anyways, entirely accept it in the mind. That guy, Neville, did not deny himself of his wants in his mind, even if it wasn't possible. Do the same. If you accept the desire, it does not matter what it is, or if it can even materialize, accept it anyways. Do not fear this acceptance. Do not fear the ecstasy. Embrace it, get high on it, feel it. Let it change you for the better. That is what you want. Create this wonderful habit of accepting every wonderful desire that comes to you. Then you will become normal. Self. Now if you are like me, you also wanted to find the secret sauce, the key to manifesting. I know I did. I wanted to find the easiest, most simple, pain-free way to manifest. I wanted to just eat potato chips and watch the world change. I wanted that. But what I found was even better. See, I thought we were supposed to manipulate and control the world. I thought we were supposed to imagine a scene and repeat it over and over again until it happened. I was wrong. Here's why. If you imagine a scene that is not natural to you, and you are repeating it over and over, you will struggle badly. You will have nights where you don't even want to imagine. Why? Because you aren't imagining what you truly want to imagine. Do you see the difference? You feel like you have to imagine it this specific way. That is ruining the enjoyment of it. That is ruining what you want to do. I'm sure you just want to imagine your scene with ease and feel the love and enjoyment from it. Then do that. It does not have to be complicated. The most natural scenes and imaginings are those that you want to imagine. Listen to that again. The most natural scenes and imaginings are those that you want to imagine. Now, what is the secret sauce? I will tell you, as did Neville. No one or nothing to change but self. So when you are panicking about so-and-so or what might happen or this or that, remember only change self. There's nothing else to change or nobody else you must change. Self will forever be your key. It is the secret sauce. And self is what you feel to be true. You can feel what you want to be true. So if you find yourself in a position you dislike, use self. Change it and watch it happen naturally in your world. Have patience for your world. It will always reflect self. That you can always trust. Want the world to see you as amazing? Then start seeing and feeling yourself to be amazing. It will happen naturally, for life naturally expresses self. But you must want it, not want it just because. Maybe you just want to relax and read a book and want to be away from things, then do that. Make it lovely. To hurt people in your mind is to hurt yourself. Your life will become hell, I tell you, if you hurt yourself. So self is the way to control and manipulate the world. Self is who you think you are and what you think you have within. This is a feeling. So start giving yourself or your mind ease by doing what you wish. Make it so lovely you can't resist it. Make it so grand and great you feel engulfed by it. Here is an example. Let's say you are someone like me, where you think about things you did in your past and they make you feel guilt. But remember, the only reason you are having memories that bring you guilt is because you are feeling guilty to begin with. If you had no guilt in your mind, you would not even think those things. But you think of these memories, guilt starts to come. Then maybe you start to think of some future event where punishment or something bad awaits you. You, being clever, you create a scene that implies the fulfillment of that guilt. You are actually doing exactly what Neville says, just in the wrong direction. You hate this feeling that something bad awaits, and you just cannot feel what you want. Instead, you have this feeling in the back of your mind, and you fear letting it go. You think, what if though? What if it is true? What if that actually happens? What if someone brings it up, etc.? What do you do? Well, let's see what you are doing in the first place. You are afraid of someone making you feel guilt for the wrongs you have done. But at the same time, nobody is making you feel guilt in this moment other than yourself. You are guilting yourself. You are creating the punishment. You are feeling the fear. So you are afraid of someone doing what you are currently doing to yourself. So how does one stop this cycle? Well, first realize you are not doing what you want. You are not feeling what you want. Remember the first step, you must want to feel something better. Your want must supersede this feeling of guilt. Then ask yourself, what do I actually want to feel? Don't be ashamed of it. Don't feel it is impossible. Don't worry if it will work out or not. Want it. Accept it in fullness. So say you want to deeply feel. Nobody can embarrass me in my world. Nobody can punish me. People, when they are around me, cannot help but praise me. I feel completely safe in my world. It is always reflecting self. I don't care what it is. It can be so embarrassing or impossible to your neighbor. It does not make a difference to me. If I want to feel it, I will not fear it. I will accept it in full. Maybe I struggle to feel it right away. Maybe the fear grips me back. Well, fine, but I want it. So I will not let myself be overcome by my own fear. I want it. So I will continue until I become so overwhelmed by the beauty of this feeling that I cannot help but accept. I want to remove my free will because it is so great and granted I cannot help it. Then it becomes easier and easier from then on. Then understand you are changing self. You are not trying to stop this person from doing that, or change the thoughts of this other person. Your only concern is to change self. There is nothing else to change. So you want the world to stop punishing you? Then stop it within yourself. Feel that nobody can anymore, not even yourself. Want the world to stop telling you bad news? Then hear the greatest news you can muster. Why not? If you can do anything in your mind, why not do what you want in it? Self is what must change, the only thing that must change to see a change in your world. You can also think of it this way. Self is the most powerful manifesting tool there is. Here is a great answer by Neville. It encapsulates what I'm trying to say here. Question: what must I do to inspire creative thoughts such as those needed for writing? Answer: what must you do? Assume the story has already been written and accepted by a great publishing house. Reduce the idea of being a writer to the sensation of satisfaction. Repeat the phrase, "Isn't it wonderful?" or "Thank you, thank you, thank you," over and over again, until you feel successful, or imagine a friend congratulating you. There are unnumbered ways of implying success, but always go to the end. Your acceptance of the end wills its fulfillment. Do not think about getting in the mood to write, but live and act as though you are now the author you desire to be. Assume you have the talent for writing. Think of the pattern you want displayed on the outside. If you write a book and no one is willing to buy it, there's no satisfaction. Act as though people are hungry for your work. Live as though you cannot produce stories or books fast enough to meet the demand. Persist in this assumption, and all that is necessary to achieve your goal will quickly burst into bloom, and you will express it. Neville says to repeat the phrase, "Why?" To just get to the feeling of success. That is it, to change self. It does not really matter what the words are. The words are not the secret. It is the change in the self. A change from feeling unsuccessful to success, if that is what the person wants. Now notice all the things Neville adds on. He is almost like a little child with his imagination. He just goes on and on and on. Assume it is done. It is accepted by a great publisher. Then live like you are the author you want to be. Then assume you have the talent to write. See your book on the outside of the glass. Now see people hungry for your work. Now see yourself not being able to meet the demand. Persist in that. Now you tell me, do you really think it would be hard to persist in that? If that is what the person wants, do you think they will have difficulty persisting? Do you think they will go, "Fuck it, I don't feel like imagining that tonight"? LOL, no. That is amazing. Who wouldn't persist in that? Only a crazy person wouldn't. It is truly yours for the taking. This is what changes self, and that is all you need to change. Question: what is the meaning of the insignia on your book covers? Answer: it is an eye imposed upon a heart, which in turn is imposed upon a tree laden with fruit, meaning that which you are conscious of and accept as true, you are going to realize. As a man thinketh in his heart, so he is. Neville. If I am, then I will be. Part 9. We are going to talk about this passage here. So this night, if I would be healthy, I must assume that I am. If I would be wealthy, I must assume that I am. Don't ask anyone in this world for permission. If I would be anything, I must assume that I am, for that is asking in the only name that really responds. When things seemed so black, I couldn't turn for light. I didn't know where to turn. Had no money, had none of this, none of that. And I dared to assume that I was the man I wanted to be, and I was where I wanted to be, which would have taken quite a fortune. And strangely enough, it came out of nowhere. I didn't have to put my hand in the pocket of another to get it. I did nothing of which I was ashamed of to get it. It just happened. So tonight, you take this wonderful name and you try it. It won't fail you, I promise you. It won't fail you. Just I am. Forget what you've done in this world. Forget what people think you are. Forget all the little tags that got put on you. Do take off everything and simply dwell on I am. Then in the I amness, Clothe it with your wish fulfilled. Just try it. I'm telling you what I've experienced. This is not any theory. This is not speculation. This is pure experience. It comes that way in an ultimate bliss. Neville. Let's first understand that the self, the true you inside, the only you, wants the feeling. That is what it is after. Repeating a scene over and over with worry will result with frustration. But to know that the self inside wants the feeling, then we can be confident to achieve that. You change self with feeling. So that is why Neville says, nothing to change but self. Then he also says, feeling is the secret. Well, if there is nothing to change but self, how is feeling the secret? Well, in order to change self, it changes through feeling. This is so important because so many times I have, and others repeated, countless affirmations to see little if any results. We repeat it 1,000 times, hope it sticks in the subconscious. Then we hear about feeling, so we force feeling into it, and it changes us for a bit, but then it becomes exhausting. It becomes exhausting because we feel we have to feel this specific feeling or else. If you have been reading or listening to this series, you already know the answer. There is no have to, but want to. Feel what you want to feel. You discover what you want to feel by asking self inside, what do I want to feel? That I am great and my past cannot hold me back? Feel that. It does not matter what it is, just something you have always wanted to feel. This is what changes us. And it, as Neville says, feels like ultimate bliss. And it does. It feels like your body has opened up and your mind is at ease. Like you just quenched the thirst for the one within you. That you finally fed it and saved it from starvation. You almost feel like you are high all the time. Life becomes beautiful and relaxing. But it only comes to those who are truly not afraid to feel what they want. To the ones who aren't scared to feel that one feeling they fear. If you can just for a moment set aside that fear and feel what you want, you will feel the ultimate bliss Neville is speaking about. So when Neville says, assume that is only a feeling. All of this is feelings. Forcing affirmations, forcing feelings is not what you want. Maybe you are forcing the feeling of being wanted, and that is actually what you want. But because you are forcing it, it is causing you all sorts of problems. If you just change the intention to feeling it because you want to feel it, because you want to fulfill all your desires within yourself with feeling, then you would be far happier. Why does Neville say it won't fail you? He says this because it can't. How can I say this when I myself have failed? Because I did not change self. Self cannot fail at expressing. And self is all that you feel to be and have in your mind. If you were to remove the feeling of being unwanted and assumed, felt, you were entirely wanted, and all the experiences of the unwanted self would cease. If you stopped feeling guilty, all punishments would cease. You don't need permission or someone to tell you that it is okay to feel what you want. Asking how do I release this guilt, this fear, is to not understand you are creating it. In your mind, allow yourself to not feel fear. Bring up a beautiful, wonderful feeling and intensify it. If fear stops you, then understand you are the only one stopping you. Then allow yourself the freedom of feeling what you want with no worry. You are allowed to feel bliss to its extreme if you want. If we are honest with ourselves, most of us imagine what we want, but we do not feel what we want. The self is starving for the feeling, for the freedom and change. If you want to be wanted, loved, do not just dip your feet in those waters. Dive in and feel, not that you are just wanted, but the most wanted. That you are so loved it literally makes no sense. That you are deserving more love than you are giving yourself. That you deserve to be massaged and people enjoy pleasing you. They love your presence. And you are so great and loving you always find yourself surrounded by brilliant people, etc. Just watch what happens. Then when you are receiving a neck, head, and face massage out of nowhere, and the person looks at you with pleasure that they are doing it for you, you can thank me, LOL. This happened out of the nowhere for me. I literally never get massages until I imagined getting them. So self or yourself cannot fail you. You always express what you feel to be and feel to have. There is no other creator in your mind, none. You are doing it all in your mind. You fear yourself or love yourself. You give or you take. There is no other God in the mind but you. Start here, start within. Learn to not be afraid of feeling what you want. You cannot go wrong with freeing yourself, with seeing yourself as the greatest, the highest, most lovely and excellent, with hearing wonderful things. Have so much confidence in this. Self cannot fail. If I am safe in my mind, I will be safe in the world. If I am loved in my mind, I will be loved in the world. If I am wealthy in my mind, I will be wealthy in the world. If I am praised in my mind, I will be praised in the world. If I am treated like a king in my mind, I will be treated that way in the world. If I am guiltless in my mind, I will be guiltless in the world. We are what we feel to be and have an imagination, and this dream world shapes to us. Fearful of Magnificence, Part 10. How do we not fear the feeling that frees us? If you have been listening or reading this series, you know this is about giving yourself exactly what you want in your mind. This is no different than what Neville has said in the past. We are granting all our wishes in ourselves. However, we should go beyond just granting wishes and start seeing ourselves highly in our minds. We should become absolutely grand and magnificent for the sole purpose that we can and we want to. However, at times we find ourselves imagining all wonderful things, and then we go to feel what we want to, only to fear it. There is this certain feeling of fear that restricts this glorious feeling from expanding within you. Questions and doubts arise, and if we lend our ear to them, that glorious feeling becomes dimmer and dimmer. Then we may feel incapable of freedom, of our own salvation. We feel that fear, and back we go into our own caves to dwell in, our caves of desire, still wishing for freedom. Who is going back to the cave? Who is resisting the feeling of freedom? Who is restricting the thoughts of glory and splendor? Let the weak say, I am strong. Are you not in desire with yourself? Let the desiring say, I am fulfilled. May they come and drink and eat without a price, says the mind. You do not have to feel any qualifications to feel what you want to feel. Forget the past or your worries about the future. There is no price to pay to feel what you want in your mind. You are always safe to feel what you want in your mind. When you go to feel that feeling you have been yearning for, the fear stops you. It is not a separate entity stopping you. Remember, the monstrous being is your own creation, and you defeat it, not by fighting it, but by not fearing it. You learn to stop fearing the wonderful feelings by saying it is you who is holding yourself back. Taste the feeling just for a moment, and see there is nothing to fear. Then the fear becomes smaller and smaller. Once you break through your own fear of wonderful feelings, you will see it was you all along. All fears are mental imaginings that you are creating within yourself. Knowing, you bring the power of creation back to yourself. So for practical application, I like to call this the for once meditation. This is what helped me stop fearing beautiful things. Lay down and just relax. The intention of this meditation is to feel for once what you have been wanting to feel. That you will commit to freeing yourself from within for once. This is not about changing the world, but changing from within. Find something within you that you have always been wanting to feel. Remove all ideas of trying to manipulate the world. Leave the world just as it is, and remember to change self. We change self when we actually feel what we want to feel. Once you start to feel it, and that fear sparks up, do not fear it. For this one time, do not fear that feeling. Instead, bring understanding to the mind on why you should not fear it. Tell yourself something along the lines of, I will allow myself to feel this wonderful feeling for once. I will free myself just for this moment. I am willing to put this fear that I always feel aside for a moment, and I will accept this beautiful feeling. I'm willing to free myself for once. For once, just allow yourself the freedom to feel what you want. I promise you, if you just try it for once, all it takes is one time for you to feel this, and you will not want to go back. Example: I wanted to become so confident that I wanted to see myself highly, and I would like to be praised beyond my wildest dreams. I lay down to feel this. I started seeing myself highly. I saw myself as wonderful. I was walking places with confidence I did not know I had. I then saw myself on a throne. Then I saw myself as a glorious, beautiful being of light. I heard all these praises coming to me, all because I wanted to. And then as I was feeling this happened quickly, almost the same time, but I'm only breaking it up for clarity. Then I started to fear this feeling. It does not seem real anymore. What if nothing happens from this? What is the point of this? Thoughts of the past when I was not confident or mistakes I made arose. Then the beautiful, freeing feeling started to disappear. I started to feel stuck, not sure what to do. Then I brought understanding and purpose back to my mind. I came back and told myself, the whole purpose was to feel that beautiful feeling, not to fear it. I wanted to give my inner self, my mind, what it wanted, and it wanted to feel that amazing feeling of ecstasy. This changes self, and that self is always reflected. I am creating the fear, and I am the one stopping myself anyways. So for once, I allow myself to feel this. Then the feeling I wanted started to come back up, and it opened up my body. Anxiety was replaced with ease, and I was liking the feeling and the high I was being given. I wanted to intensify it. I wanted to feel this to my core because it felt so great. I wanted this to become my core feeling. Once I felt this wonderful feeling, I continued to allow it to grow. I did not force it. There's no need to force. Just feel it grow and allow it to free yourself. Once I reached that state of ecstasy, I remind myself how much greater this feeling is than fear, how living my life in that low state of fear has brought nothing but undesirable outcomes, how allowing myself for once to feel this new, beautiful feeling will and must reflect in my world, because I am changing inner self, and this life is inner self, the only self pushed out. There is nothing or no one to change but self. If you start seeing yourself the way you want to see yourself within, that self will be reflected. Changing inner self is the key. Make a commitment that you will fulfill every desire you have within yourself, regardless if your outer you thinks it's impossible. To know if you did it correctly, the feeling will start to open your body up. Ease comes, and from this you start to naturally think from the feeling. We are always thinking from feelings, so it is our feelings we must change. Understand desire is a feeling that is held within, and the inner you wants this to be fulfilled. It wants to change the feeling of desire to the feeling of fulfillment. And as Neville says, a change in feeling is a change in destiny. Self-Identification, Part 11. I hope this one is a powerful one for you. This is the most important writing in this series so far. I am told God is in heaven and does whatever he pleases. God speaks and says, "If I were hungry, I would not tell you, for the world is mine and all that is in it. How can I be free? How can I be what I want? How can I do what I please? How can I, a mere mortal, feel myself as a magnificent, glorious being?" It lies in your identification of self. Do not be afraid, but identify yourself fully with the inner man, the immortal you, the one that can do anything it wants, the one who owns the world and all that is in it. I am serious when I say this. I am not using hyperbole. If you identify yourself with the inner man, you will be free. The outer man sees nothing but limitations. He lives in desire, constantly needing another bread to eat. But too many of us have identified ourselves with what the outer man has and is. Not seeing it is a reflection of the inner man. So if you want to understand who and what you think you are and have, then close your eyes and pay attention. See what you have and what you're claiming yourself to be within. That is what is reflected always. Stop trying to change the world, since it is only the mirror. Man's attempt to change the world by force is as fruitless as breaking a mirror in the hope of changing his face. Leave the mirror and change your face. Leave the world alone and change your conceptions of yourself. You do not have to persuade others to help you. All you need to do is believe you are what you want to be, and then let the world, which is nothing more than yourself pushed out, go to work to make your assumptions possible. Neville. But how? How can you believe you are what you want to be when the world is showing you otherwise? Again, it comes down to self-identification. When Neville says, "Change the conceptions of yourself," this is merely saying, identify yourself with the one within and give yourself what you want with feeling. Conceptions of ourselves are what we feel ourselves, our inner man, to be. The inner man has all the freedom to see and feel what it wants to be. So who are you identifying yourself with? The outer man of limitations, or the inner man who men call God? Your inner being is he who men call God. Neville. Once you identify yourself with the inner man, you will see how abundant you are in what you want. You will finally feel what you want, and you can give it to yourself in full. But this freedom only comes to those who actually identify themselves with the limitless one within. That inner man is the one who Neville is speaking about that must be changed. So you give that inner man everything he desires. That is what is reflected in the world, not this outer man. If the inner man is frightened by thoughts, then the outer man feels the effect. To the inner man, everything already is true. not to the outer. It already is so to the inner man. There is no convincing necessary, no 1,000 affirmations, no repeating over and over hoping it works. If you identify yourself with the inner man, if you claim to be the one within, you will find it incredibly easy, I will say natural, to feel what you want. Pay attention to what I'm saying. When you imagine your end, is it not already so? You did not imagine how to get there. You are already there in imagination. Your issue is not in imagining the end. Your issue lies in who you are identifying yourself with. If you imagine yourself in the end, which is easy, but then you identify yourself with the outer man, you will breed nothing but frustrations. However, if you first identify yourself with the one within, and then imagine your end, you will not question if you are going to get it. You have it. The inner man always has it. He sees the end. He is the one who creates his own fate. The inner man is his own destroyer and redeemer. Identify yourself with the inner man, the immortal you, not this body nor this outer life. If you want freedom, love, joy, happiness, confidence, if you want to be a king, queen, treated like a god, goddess, loved beyond your wildest dreams, then identify yourself with the inner man. The inner man can have all those desires fulfilled because imagination is infinite. Disregard appearances, conditions, in fact all evidence of your senses that deny the fulfillment of your desire. Rest in the assumption that you are already what you want to be. For in the determined assumption, you and your infinite being are merged in creative unity, and with your infinite being, all things are possible. You are already that which you want to be, and your refusal to believe this is the only reason you do not see it. Neville. Your refusal to believe, change this to, your refusal to feel yourself to be, is why you do not see it. For what we feel ourselves to be within will reflect. How are you already what you want to be? How can you be if you are limited? You are always what you want to be when you identify yourself with the inner man. Stop limiting yourself within. You create the stars, you draw all men to you to fulfill what you have done and are within. Within is the only place you can be what you want when the world tells you you can't. But who is telling you you can't? Yourself. It is all you. Leave the world as it is, with all of its denials, and change yourself within, and see how it is yourself pushed out. There is nothing more important than developing your imagination, to transform your life from the inside world of your thoughts and feelings to the outside world of your results and manifestations. Neville. There's nothing more important than your relationship with your mind and self. Identify yourself with the inner man, and use the mind to create what you want within. Let the mind work for you. Is that not what you want? Wouldn't it be nice to be sitting down with friends and people, and instead of insecurities coming to the surface of your mind, you had praises constantly? Let the mind work for you. When you identify yourself with the one within, I'm serious when I say this, you will no longer feel beneath anyone, for it is all states, and you draw the states necessary to fulfill your inner man, good, bad, or indifferent. Whenever your feeling is in conflict with your wish, feeling will be the victor. Neville. Feeling will be the victor. If you are imagining your wish or the end while feeling worried, concerned, that feeling will be the victor. You receive what you feel after within. Take the stresses off by identifying yourself with the inner man, an infinite one, and you will see you have what you've always wanted. The inner man is greater than the world. Far greater is he that is in you than he that is in the world. 1 John 4:4. Believe this. Do not continue in blindness, following after the mirage of masters. I assure you, your search can end only in disappointment. Neville. So discard all beliefs of what you think you are, or what you have been called, etc., and identify yourself with the one within, and you will be free. You will be free because the inner man can do what he pleases. Pleases. Pay attention to that word. The inner man does what he pleases. What pleases you? Do that within. Identify yourself with the inner man is a shift in feeling. I mean what I said, that this is the most important writing of this series so far. If you fully identify yourself with the inner man, you will understand all what I am saying and what Neville said. Personal Reality, Part 12. The inner man can do, see, hear, and be what it wants, or what you want. How can we do this? So it is crucial that when you meditate, you stop thinking about the outer world. You get rid of this 3D reality. You then feel that your inner world is your reality, your own personal reality, where you can do, have, and be what you want, that you can make people say what you want. You can be fearless if you want. You can have people give you things if you want. You can be places where you want to be if you want. You can have people praise you. You can have items you want. We are not trying to make something happen or hope it manifests. Rid yourself of these feelings. They will do nothing but block the wonderful feelings and experiences you want to have within. This is your own personal reality. Now here is where the mindfuck comes in, excuse my language. You already do this. Listen to that again. You already do this. You already put words in people's mouths. You already make people give you punishments. You already have the world hurt and deny you. You already hear bad news. You already create fearful situations. You already do this. You are creating your own personal nightmare. There is no shame, because who will you shame? Yourself? Why? For what? Using your mind in a way you did not want to use it. Isn't shaming yourself also not using your mind how you want to use it? So you don't use your mind the way you want to, and then you shame yourself, which is also not using your mind the way you want to. For what? What do we achieve with shame? Who cares? Stop blaming and start creating the dream you want within. So we already do this in our minds. That is the mindfuck, because you think I'm telling you something new, and in a sense I am. But actually, I am just telling you to redirect your mind to a road you want to go. That is it, because you're already making people do this and that, and you are already feeling after self-concepts. You may not like what you are doing within yourself, but being the creator of it all can easily change that. When you listen to my words, you feel that epiphany feeling, that this is making sense. Understand that is you simply awakening to the fact you can do what you wish in your mind. But you already have this freedom. You always had it. You and I just simply misused it. Neville also misspent his energy. We all do it by imagining unlovely things about others and ourselves. Now when you meditate, understand you are doing nothing different, but simply directing the mind to where you want to go. There is no wondering if you are doing it right, or if it will work. You already do this literally every day. So I'm not going to tell you to do something different. I'm just grabbing your shoulders, turning you around, and showing you that you can also imagine this wonderful thing over here, that you do not have to stay in this rut that you are creating. He who creates the evil creates the good, the weal and the woe, the light and the darkness. He who kills is he who makes alive, and he who wounds is he who heals, and there is no other God. If you really believe you are the one spoken of here, that it is you who create the evil, the good, the weal and the woe, that none can deliver out of your hand, then you are set free. You will never again believe in another, but know that your life is self-created, that you create the storms as well as the peace and the calm. No longer will you believe he, she, or they did it, for you will recognize them as reflections, mirroring either the storm or the peace and calm within you. Neville. How do I stop blaming another for what is happening within me? The only way you will stop blaming and start resolving is when you finally do what you want in your mind. When instead of hearing some bad news from someone in your mind, you make them say something wonderful. Once you create this personal reality, where everything seems to go lovely, you will see that there is no one to blame for what you were previously imagining. You will see that fear does not exist outside of you, but within you, and you are the creator of it. This is the good news, that fear is created by you. Taking all responsibility for what happens within us, we can then use that power to change what we want within us. That which you think about with feeling, that which you believe is a feeling, to be true, and that which you imagine yourself to be or to have, is the cause of everything in your personal world, personal inner world, personal inner reality. You may believe there is some other cause. You may blame others for your problems. You may believe that the events were wrought by fate or chance. But if you are objective and observe your own beliefs and thought patterns, you will see that your world accurately reflects all that you believe, feel, to be true of yourself and others. There is no one and nothing to change but the ideas from which you think. What we feel, we think from. We think from ideas that we consent to as true, and we imagine situations that match our beliefs. If we have fear, we think from fear. Consciousness is the only reality. It is the creative principle that brings into your experience the exact duplicate or reflection of that which you imagine to be true. The world in which we live mirrors all that we believe and imagine to be true, be it good, bad, or indifferent. The sooner that man rids himself of the belief in a second cause, the sooner will he realize that nothing happens to him except that which originates in his own consciousness. Neville. So tonight, hear someone say something lovely to you. Hear some good news for someone else. Give yourself the item you once wanted. Give love to someone. See the beauty that you want to see. Feel what you always wanted to feel. Make people say wonderful things to you. This is your own personal reality. Don't hurt anyone you don't need to. To hurt someone is to hurt yourself, and you create another nightmare in your mind. You will fall back into the cycle you were just in. Instead, raise people up, which is to raise yourself. Become the savior, the redeemer in your own mind. No permission needed. Part 13. How can any of us know we are the operant power, the cause of our worlds, if we do not test it? Testing it radically, I mean. Remember, the outer world is a reflection of what the inner man has, is, and does in their own personal inner reality. That is you. So if we wish to have radical change, let's radically change the inner man. Give the inner man what he wants. That is, radical change, your own personal inner reality. Now how do we change? Through feeling. Listen to Neville's words here. Arise, go down to the potter's house, and there I will let you hear my words. So I went down to the potter's house, and there he was working at his wheel. But the vessel in his hand, which he was making of clay, was spoiled. So he reworked it into another vessel, as it seemed good to the potter to do. He didn't discard it. So someone seems beyond repair, don't discard it. Test this power, this creative power. There's nothing more wonderful in this world, nothing more creative in man than to believe a whole thing into existence. I can't conceive anything more wonderful than that. Neville. He did not discard it. He reworked it into what pleased him, that is you. You are the potter within. Now notice the language Neville uses, someone beyond repair. Don't discard him or her. Rework it as it seems good to you. Test this law on those who seem beyond repair, even if you think that is yourself. That is how we know whether or not this truly works. Neville does not say, just assume something nice here and there, but instead he says, dare to assume. And remember, an assumption is a feeling, so dare to feel what you want. Without doing that, you remain as you are. You want people to give you respect. Then receive it entirely in imagination first. Don't wait for someone to come along and do it. Go down to the potter's house and rework the clay. No matter how far we think we have fallen from grace, don't discard yourself. Go within into your own personal reality and change what you would like to what pleases you. Now a lady wrote saying, "This dream disturbs me greatly. In the dream I entered an exquisite jewelry store and picked up many items, among which was a beautiful green gem. Then I left without paying for the articles I took. On this level I would never do such a thing and cannot understand why I would do it there. My dear, you should be thrilled because you did it. On this level you are eating of the tree of knowledge of good and evil, but you are way beyond this tree, for you are now eating of the tree of life by fulfilling the 50th Psalm. If I were hungry, I would not tell you, for the world is mine and all within it. If everything is yours, whose permission do you need to take it? As an incurrent witness, you do not function here save when you open your mortal eyes. In this world of good and evil, you would never go to Tiffany's and walk out without paying for your purchase. But as the spirit of truth, you are feasting upon the tree of truth and error in the world that is yours. In that world, there is no need to ask permission of anyone to take anything you desire. Neville. Everyone who thirsts, come. He who has no money, come buy and eat. Come buy wine, buy milk, without money, without price. Isaiah 55:1. In that world, there is no need to ask permission. What world is Neville speaking of? The personal reality within. The inner man needs no permission. The inner man does not care whether or not it is possible. So in your personal reality, your mind, understand you need no permission to feel what you want to feel. No permission whether or not it is possible. No permission if you want to feel it deeply all the time. No permission to experience what you want. Identify yourself with the inner man who is free to do, feel, and be what he wants. You can go anywhere you want and take whatever pleases you. It is all yours. You can never know this if you identify yourself with the outer man, the man of limitation. The inner man is infinite and can feel what he wants, whatever he wants. But if you do not make it radical from experience, there will be little change in your mind. When you identify yourself with the inner man, what you are doing is experiencing the now in imagination. There is no need to wait to experience. And as Neville says, I may not have a dime, but in imagination I have much. But don't just apply that to money. Apply that to whatever you want. We all have different desires. So find what you want and experience it in your own personal inner reality. My imagination puts me in touch inwardly with that state. I imagine that I'm actually where I desire to be. How can I tell that I'm there? There is only one way to prove that I'm there. For what a man sees when he describes his world is, as he describes it, relative to himself. So what the world looks like depends entirely upon where I stand when I make my observation. So if, as I describe my world, it is related to that point in space, I imagine that I am occupying, then I must be there. I am not there physically, no, but I am there in imagination. And my imagination is my real self. And where I go in imagination and make it real, there I shall go in the flesh also. When in that state I fall asleep, it is done. I've never seen it fail. So this is a simple technique upon how to use your imagination to realize your every objective. Neville. Please pay attention to what Neville says in bold. My imagination is my real self. That is what I'm trying to get across to you. My imagination is my real self. He and I mean that literally. I'm not saying that to sound mystical. I'm being as serious as I can be, and I am not embarrassed by it. The inner man is the real you. That is the one you need to exalt, and don't be ashamed of exalting him. Don't fear giving yourself exactly what you want in your mind. You do have control over your feelings, and you will see this with practicing this art. Here is a very healthy and productive exercise for the imagination, something that you should do daily. Daily relive the day as you wish you had lived it, revising the scenes to make them conform to your ideals. For instance, suppose today's mail brought disappointing news. Revise the letter, mentally rewrite it, and make it conform to the news you wish you had received. Or suppose you didn't get the letter you wish you had received. Write yourself the letter, and imagine that you received such a letter. Neville. Your personal inner reality is not bound by the facts of this life. In the reality within, you can go back in memory and change what you want. It is yours to change. Don't revise to what you think you should want, but to what pleases you. When Neville is speaking about revision, notice how he is telling you to do what you wish you would have liked to have experienced instead. That is how we revise. The mind of yours can provide you a wonderful life or nightmare. We are the operant power. All the mind asks is, what do you want? There are those who are depressed all day long and remain that way all of their life. I remember back in New York City when I would see certain people walking in my direction. I would want to cross the street because I did not want to hear their depressing stories. They would spend hours telling about their wife or husband, their children or grandchildren, and each story geared to depression. Never changing their mood, their world never changed. Seeing no change, they would not recognize a law between the inner world they maintain and the outer world of response. But if you apply this law, you can predict your future. Feel a new mood rise within you. Sustain it, and soon you will meet people who embody this new state. Even inanimate objects are under the sway of these affinities. In a certain mood, I have gone to my library and removed a book I have not touched in years, and when I casually open it, I find confirmation of my mood. A table, though remaining the same, will be seen differently based upon your momentary mood, for everything reflects it. It is your mood which describes your fortune, not your fortune that describes your mood. People feeling poor attract poverty, not knowing that if they felt rich, they would attract wealth. Neville. Never changing their inner reality through the medium of feeling, they see no change in their outer world. We do not believe this law is real until we actually have a radical change within us. Without the radical change, we will say it was coincidence, or it would have happened anyways. But when we radically change inner worlds, and we make it conform to what we want, and we identify with the one within who has the thing we desire, desire ceases and is replaced with the experience of having it. This stirs within us a mood that we want to have. Since we want this mood, sustaining it becomes easier. Sustain it one day, simply conjuring it up again in meditation, and it becomes easier the next and next. Then it becomes like a habit, which then turns into a character. That is how we change. Daily feel what you want to feel and experience what you want in imagination, which is your true self, the self that is reflected in front of you. Now, in order to play the game of life, you must know what you want to replace what you have. When you know what it is, you must assume the feeling that you have it. Although your reason and senses will deny its existence, persistence will cause your assumption to harden into fact and objectify itself upon your screen of space. Play the game this way. You may think it doesn't work, but that's because you have not tried it. You may believe the idea is stupid, but I tell you, the mood decides your fortune. Believe me, for I've proved this principle over and over again in my life. Neville. You may think it doesn't work, but that's because you have not tried it. This statement rings true to me. I thought this stuff worked here and there, but not always. I thought this was silly at times and even wanted to quit this, but I simply cannot deny my experience. Those moments where I see myself being reflected so beautiful, so exact in this world, there is no denying it. It is those terrible experiences I do not wish to accept that I created. However, when I see myself being reflected, I see I am simply running away from myself. I never knew it until I started doing exactly what I wanted in my inner reality. Once I started to identify myself with the inner man, I saw so many things that I did not wish to experience. I saw that I was imagining not what pleases me, but in fact what frightens me. Then I saw that when I frighten myself, I am actually giving myself exactly what I do not want. But there in the fear lies what I do want, and from there I can give it to myself. So I use my fear to simply show me what I want. I stopped fearing fear. Once I accepted that I am doing it all within me, I was given the power to redeem my world within me. I changed what was unlovely to lovely. I raised those up who I saw down. I am and continue to be the savior in my own mind. Then I started to see a change. But I did not wait to do it. I did it now. This is the best time to start right now. Raise everyone up and yourself. Give yourself all what you want. Look at the artwork and see a man abundant, but also surrounded by others who are abundant. If I only had 10 seconds to give you advice, I would say this. Do not be afraid to give yourself the greatest feelings and imaginings. Series, The God of the World of Imagination, Part 14. This may or may not be the last post in this series. It won't be. Too much information can cause confusion, but we will see. I have tried my best to stay consistent. Hopefully this post gives you a greater understanding. There is only one being here. However, this being fools itself into believing it is two beings, the inner and the outer man. However, there is only one world and one man in that world, and that is the inner man. There is this world, the world of the senses, and there is another world, the world of imagination. There is a man who experiences the world of the senses, which we call the outer man. Then there is another man who experiences the world of imagination. We call that man the inner man. Your inner being is he who men call God. Neville. The outer man sees the limitations and restrictions in the world of the senses. The outer man feels he is limited and confined to the facts of life. The outer man goes through life fully convinced that this world of the senses is happening to him, not from him. He uses only his 5 senses to move in this world. So naturally he feels like a victim and desires to control this world through the means of force, manipulation, etc. The outer man feels fear that life can throw at him things that he is not prepared for, situations he does not want to encounter, but since he feels powerless, he fears the future. Since he cannot change the past, he guilts himself over it. This is how he is limited. Then there is the inner man who lives in the world of imagination. In this world, he is unlimited and can create what he wishes. He is free beyond measure, and everything that he can conceive of is his. Everything. Not one thing is not his, because he is the creator of it. If the inner man wants to walk into a store and take what he wishes without paying, he can also make the cashier wave and smile at him. Everything is permissible in the world of imagination. 1 Corinthians 10:23. Permissible meaning, if you want to change something within it, you can, and you do not have to ask anyone's permission. If the inner man becomes frightened inside this world, or starts to feel guilty and feels a punishment, he can be rest assured that he is the one creating all of that. There is no other God, creator, in the world of imagination. However, here is where things must be understood. Without understanding this, everything I write, or what Neville wrote, becomes confusing and meaningless. There is no objective outer man. The outer man is simply an expression of the inner man. The only man that exists is the inner man. There is no objective world of the senses. The world of the senses is but the expression of the world of imagination. When the outer man starts to fear his world, or he dislikes his world, it is not the outer man who dislikes it, nor is there something wrong with this outer world. There is only one who dislikes it, and that is the inner man. This is important. Please listen carefully. When the outer man dislikes or fears his world of the senses, it is actually the inner man fooling himself into believing he is the outer man who is fearful of the world of the senses, meaning you are never not the inner man. In other words, you are always the inner man, always. There is no other man. The inner man can convince himself that he is the outer body living in the dangerous world, but he is still the inner man fooling himself into that. So God is the creator. That is why we call him God. Yet if I say, I am God, you think I am saying, I, this little body of mine, this limited man, is God. But that is not what I'm saying, and not what Neville is saying. God is the inner man, because the inner man is the creator of everything within it. Just like his outer man dwells in this world of the senses, the inner man dwells in the world of imagination, and he is a creator inside that world. However, you are always living in the world of imagination, and you are always the inner man. When you become fearful of your world, or you dislike what it is showing you, many of us try to change it by forcing a physical change upon it. We move the furniture, so to speak. We just rearrange a few things, thinking that will do, yet only to find ourselves in the same problems again. If you fear something in the United States, you will fear it in Spain if you move there. The rearrangement of the physical world does not change the inner man, the only one there is. So someone wanting to escape their problems moves locations. But who is thinking about moving locations? The mind. The inner man is. There is no other God. The inner man can convince himself that he is this outer man. And let's say this outer man desires respect. So the inner man believes he is the outer man who desires respect and then decides to get money and buy respect. However, true respect is only found in the world of imagination. It is not bought nor found here in this world of the senses. You can buy it for a bit, but they don't really respect you. Take all the money away, and they never respected you. Who? The inner man. Why? Because the inner man who lives in the world of imagination is living there in a position with no respect. So instead of identifying himself back to his inner man, which he always is, the inner man tries to force a change upon this world, not understanding it is reflecting himself and all that he is and has in the world of imagination. Everything is permissible in the world of imagination to the inner man, who is the God of that world. Everything in the world of imagination already is. I am, who is the inner man, only experiences things in the now, meaning the past or the future are not different sections of time in the world of imagination, but in fact happening now to the inner man. Identify yourself with the inner man who lives in the world of imagination, where all things exist and are possible. You are always the inner man, simply believing you are this little body of limitation. You may, so what? If I identify myself within, and I live in the world of imagination and do as I please, so what? Why does it matter? Because life is reflecting the inner man of what the inner man feels he is and has in that world. And everything here, the clothes you wear, the laptop you type on, the books you read, movies like The Matrix, were only once imagined. That means all those things existed in that world of imagination where you are God. Also asking the question, what difference does it make if I live in the world of imagination? This question is stupid. You are always living in the world of imagination. You are using imagination to tell me imagination is meaningless. This world of the senses is the expression. So asking that question does not make sense. You are always in the world of imagination, and you are always the inner man living in the world, and you can do what you want in it. And you and I are using that world to believe we are this limited body. But you can stop identifying yourself with this outer man and go back to feeling, believing that you are this inner man because you always were. Now take this understanding and read Neville again. You are the one within, and you are not just the body. You are living in the world of imagination where you need no permission to be, feel, and have what you want. Seated here tonight, you believe you are a man or a woman. You believe you are here. But are you willing to believe you can go beyond what your reason and senses dictate? You do not have to limit your power or belief to what your reasonable mind dictates. The choice and its limitations are entirely up to you, for all things exist in the human imagination, and it is from your imagination that your belief stems. If you go beyond the dictates of reason, it must be via your imagination. And since all things now exist there, you can at any moment go beyond what your reason and senses dictate. When you leave here tonight, you expect to find your home where you left it. You will go to sleep there and believe you will wake up in your bed tomorrow morning. You believe you are clothed right now. I tell you, your capacity to believe is the human imagination, which is the only God. All imagination. You have restricted yourself by the body of sense and reason you wear. Reason says you are in this room, that you have a certain amount of money and can have no more unless you make a physical effort to get it, but you would wish you had more, wouldn't you? Assume your wish through the sense of feeling. That assumption, subjectively appropriated and believed to be true, is faith. Can you believe in its reality, knowing all things are possible to him who believes? Can you persuade yourself that, although your reason and senses deny it, your assumption will make it so? Everything here was once only a desire, believed. This building, the clothes you wear, or the car you drive were first a desire, then believed into being. Yes, I believe there is a man named Neville. He may work for you to aid the fulfillment of your desire if you believe you have it. Many men can and will come to aid you, even without knowing they are doing it, if you believe. You do not have to persuade others to help you. All you need do is believe you are what you want to be, and then let the world, which is nothing more than yourself pushed out, go to work to make your assumption possible. I promise you, your desire will be fulfilled, for all things are possible to him who believes. Let's say you would like to be in San Francisco now, but you don't have the time or the money to make the trip. What do? You ignore the present moment and subjectively appropriate your objective hope by sleeping in San Francisco tonight. As you lie on your bed, look at your world through the eyes of one who is sleeping in San Francisco. You may wake in the morning to find you are still physically in Los Angeles. But while you slept, changes were taking place which will compel you to make the journey. I tell you, you will always go physically to the subjective state you have appropriated. Remember, all things are possible to him who believes, and with God all things are possible. Man believes that God created the world and all within it, but he does not equate God with himself, the believer. But the Bible equates God, the creator of everything, with one who believes. And belief need not be restricted, but can go beyond the evidence of sense and reason. Neville Goddard. All Things Are Possible, 1969. Who is imagining themselves in San Francisco? The inner man is. So if, as I describe my world, it is related to that point in space I imagine that I am occupying, then I must be there. I am not there physically, no, but I am there in my imagination. In my imagination is my real self, and my imagination is my real self. And where I go in imagination and make it real, there I shall go in the flesh also. Neville said that imagination, the inner man, is his real self. That means he does not have to pound the idea into his mind. Everything already is so in imagination, just like everything in this world of the senses and all its limitations already are. When he asks the question, can you believe in its reality? How can you believe in its reality? By identifying yourself with the inner man. For the inner man, to believe, he must feel it to be his. And you can do that if you feel yourself to be the God in the world within. The truth is, you always have lived in imagination. You always do. When you start worrying, who is worrying and where are you worrying? It is the inner man who is worrying, and he is worrying in the world of imagination. If you understand this, you will see that the inner man, who you always are, is creating a worry in the world of imagination, where all things are possible. Yes, it is a complete and stupid waste of time, but it is only habit. If you lived in a world where all things are possible, and you could create anything you want, would you choose to create a situation and then worry about it? No, you would not. You only do this because you are identifying yourself with his outer man. Again, I am not saying this to be mystical nor intelligent. I'm saying this because this is the truth I have found from Neville's work and from experience. When I identify myself with the inner man, I have never felt more free. Every day I see how I created a limited world within the limitless world of imagination. When I start to feel afraid or worry or feel pressure that causes me anxiety, I realize that I am the inner man creating that in the world of imagination. Then knowing I am the God in that world, I can reshape and create something new, but I cannot do it if I doubt I am the inner man, and if I believe I am bound by reason and this world of limitations. Imaginal experiment number 1. Imagine you are in a beautiful field of flowers, and the sun is out, and everything is perfect. Then imagine yourself in a cage, and there is no key. You are behind bars, and there is no escape. You want to go outside in that beautiful world, but you can't. Then look at your hands while in the cage, and then just imagine a key in your hand. Then use that key to open the cage. Then understand that you are in the world of imagination, and you are the creator in that world. You can create a beautiful, beautiful scene. You can also cage yourself with no escape. But you can also create the key to free yourself. It's all you. There is no other creator in your mind. This is similar to what Neville wrote in The Power of Awareness. How can this feeling of naturalness be achieved? The secret lies in one word: imagination. For example, this is a very simple illustration. Assume that you are securely chained to a large, heavy iron bench. You could not possibly run. In fact, you could not even walk. In these circumstances, it would not be natural for you to run. You could not even feel that it was natural for you to run. But you could easily imagine yourself running. In that instant, while your consciousness is filled with your imagined running, you have forgotten that you are bound. In imagination, your running was completely natural. Imaginal experiment number 2. Bring someone in front of you, someone who has not been treating you well. Imagine them telling you that they are sorry for how they have been treating you. Have them tell you how they are going to treat you from now on, and have them ask you if you can forgive them. See them treating you beautifully. Forgive entirely, then understand that they were only following orders that you gave them in the world of imagination where you are God. They had no choice but to act that way towards you in the world of imagination because of the belief you held of them. They had no choice but to follow the inner man's orders. It is all you. Forgive everyone in the world of imagination, even yourself. It is your world entirely. You are already that which you want to be, and your refusal to believe it is the only reason you do not see it. Neville Goddard. Who already is the one they want to be? The inner man within the world of imagination. I notice that when I fully identify myself with the inner man, and I move into the world of imagination, something changes in me. I realize something while I am in the world of imagination. I have things in it. I can interact with objects. I can hear things I want to hear. I can create what I want. I can walk into a shop and just take what I want and leave without paying, and I can make the owner just smile and wave at me. I can enter worlds, and I can stand in the street and just tell people, this is all a dream. I can snap my fingers and make everyone bow to me. I can make myself a pharaoh, and I can make every person a pharaoh as well if I wish. I can have someone apologize who hurt me. I can make someone tell me how they are going to treat me. I can make people stop their movements and change their actions after. I can feel what emotions I want to, and I can create from these emotions. I can feel that I have never done a wrong in my life. I can feel that I cannot be punished in my inner world. I can forgive everyone by changing them to what I would like them to be. I can change something that seems entirely concrete with ease. I can penetrate the past and do what I wish I would have done. I can accept the apology that I rejected when I was 5 years old. I can exalt myself or make myself a peasant. I can guilt myself and bring punishments upon myself. I can convince myself that the scary thing I am creating is real and I am powerless against it. I can hug the love of my life and hold her and tell her all the lovely things I want to say. I can be in the house I want to be in. I can wear the clothes I want to wear and buy all the clothes that I want. I can pet a bear and a tiger and make them obey me if I do not fear. I can put myself in a cage and just imagine the key in my hand and escape. I can see Neville at an orchestra and have a conversation with him at a bar. I can see that I have everything I want because I am the creator. The inner man is the creator, that is God. Everything you, the inner man, experiences in the world of imagination is everything you feel you have and are in that world. If you were to give yourself new things and a new concept of self, you would have an entirely different experience in the world of imagination. You can experience what you wish in the world of imagination, but you can only experience self. Edward Art. In the world of imagination, what seems to be is to those to whom it seems to be. William Blake. Awakening, Part 15. What the inner man feels himself to be and feels himself to have in the world of imagination is what will be expressed in this world of the senses. You, right now, are living this outer world. You are walking around, laying down, doing your daily activities. So you are an individual living in a world where you are limited. But you can only experience your own life, self. Likewise, you are an individual, an inner individual living in the world of imagination. In this world, you are God. You can imagine anything. All things are possible here in this world, including the fulfillment of your desires. However, you can only experience self in this world. But you can change self to what you want. And self is what you think you have and what you think you are in the world of imagination. Listen to this sentence again. Self is what you think you have and what you think you are in this world of imagination. And self, that self, is what is expressed. Pay attention to what I am saying. As you listen to this, you are living in this 3D world. You own things within it. You have things. Based on what you have in this 3D world, you create identities for yourself. So if you have no money, you claim to be poor. If you have no love, freedom, or punishments. If you have no love, freedom, or punishments, we claim we are unloved, trapped, and guilty. Remember, we claim we are things based on what we think we have. So please see what I am saying here. If you stop identifying yourself with this 3D world, which is simply an expression of inner self, if you stop identifying yourself with what this 3D person has, and start identifying yourself with the inner man, you will see the freedom I'm speaking of. Let's say you are desiring money or love or peace. It does not matter what it is. You do not have it in this 3D space. And since you do not have it, you claim that you are broke, unwanted, etc. But let's say instead, you identify yourself with the inner man who lives in the world of imagination. So you close your eyes and enter into the world within. Bring your desire to your mind. Understand that you must fulfill it in this world. Let the 3D world remain the same. Just leave it entirely alone. Then I want you to imagine whatever desire you want to be fulfilled. Do not just limit it to material things. There were so many desires in me that were not physical at all for me. I wanted to feel that nothing would go wrong anymore. I wanted to feel that there were no more punishments. I wanted to feel that I can show the love I want and not feel afraid anymore. I wanted to feel that relief that I no longer sabotage myself. I wanted to feel that everything I do is excellent, marvelous. I wanted to feel that nothing can harm me. I wanted to feel that nothing could embarrass me. I wanted to feel I could relax for once. I wanted to feel things too, not just imagine material things. I wanted to free myself in my own imaginative world within me. I wanted to feel these things to be true in my own inner world. I stopped caring about the outer world, that the world within me, which we call the mind, is entirely safe, entirely giving, entirely loving. When it comes to material things, see yourself with what you want. Hear it if you can't see it. Now remember, it is just you, self, and your world of imagination that you are changing. And remember, in this 3D world, we give ourselves identities based on what we think, feel, we have. So if we can identify ourselves with the inner man, and in the world we have the things we want, we can then give ourselves a new identity. You do not need anyone's permission to have things in your own inner world, but you can only truly feel this if you actually feel what you are imagining is real. Can you imagine money in your bank account and feel that it is actually yours? Can you feel someone loving you and actually feel that they are loving you? Can you go beyond this and feel that you are the most loved being there is? Can you feel you are actually experiencing it, just though you experience here in this world? I want you to stop thinking you are only imagining this. I want you to stop thinking what you are seeing in your mind is fake. I want you to stop reacting to what you do not want to react to. I want you to stop feeling limited by this world of the senses. I want you to stop worrying about how or when it is going to happen, and instead feel secure knowing this 3D world reflects what your inner self has and is within. I want you to feel you are limitless within because you are. You do not have to bow down to this world and accept what you think it says about you. I want you to feel yourself to be the creator of everything within you. When I feel anxiety or thoughts I dislike, I no longer feel it is some force I must overcome, but instead I see I am creating that in my own inner world, and in this inner world I can do anything. So I fear that something bad might happen and I start seeing it going south in my mind. I accept I am doing that. From there I can create what I want in my mind. And since it is my mind, I do not need anyone's permission to feel what I want to be true instead. If I have a thought I dislike, I know I can change and make it lovely, and I know I can feel the new lovely thought to be equally true. There's nothing to change but self, and self is what you think, feel, have, and are within. So leave this 3D world completely as it is. When Neville says, live in the state of the wish fulfilled, you must remember a state is an attitude in the mind. A wish fulfilled simply means that your wish is granted. Can you see what you want and feel what you want within, and feel that your wish has been granted? Can you accept that you have what you want because you see yourself, inner self, with it, and everything in this world of imagination is yours and is real? Do you know what happens when you do this? I can give you a hint. You stop desiring. The desire is completely gone for what you were wanting. The inner man who is feeling desire is also automatically expressing that desire, which is a proclamation you do not have it. But the inner man can also imagine himself with the thing he wants and feel he has it if we remove the outer world. The desire turns into a feeling of fulfillment. When you actually feel it, you are no longer wondering how or when. You are actually experiencing it. Now listen carefully to these words of Neville in the lecture, Our Real Beliefs. Please listen to each sentence slowly and digest what is being said. Real belief and knowing are one. When a man really believes, it is just as though he knows it. It is tantamount to knowing. So when I tell you belief, I call it faith. I call it belief. It is not complete until it becomes experienced. One must experience it, and then they know it. You will hear the same thing tonight. Everyone present hears exactly the same thing, but no two will hear it in the same depth. Some will hear it on the surface. Others will hear it below the surface. And others will hear it down in the very depths of their being. It is where you hear it. Tonight, I hope you do not reject what I am here to tell you. You can accept it or reject it, but I tell you, if I get through tonight and you apply it because you are the operant power, I can tell you, but it does not operate itself. If at this very moment I ask you to think of a friend, just think of a friend, and now hear him tell you something lovely about himself, a mutual friend or you, just hear it. Do you believe, feel that actually took place? You may say, well, I imagined it, but it didn't really take place. I will tell you that the day will come, and I hope now that when you imagine a state before you have external confirmation of that state, to you it is as though you heard it externally. You know it, that this internal act is equal to the external confirmation of that act. You get to that point because the difference between God and man is measured only in terms of this imaginative power. Neville, If you fulfill what your heart desires within, because that is where desire is held, within, can you actually feel it is fulfilled? Once you do this, then you walk in the state of the wish fulfilled. It is all incredibly natural, but you must try it. You must actually feel it is taking place now, your desire. Try it. Do not just listen to what I am saying and think I am crazy, nor think I am smart. Just try it. Test these words. It is honestly and truly my hope as well that you hear this in the depths of your being and you understand what is being said in this series. Practice the shift in feeling. 1. Do what Neville says and imagine someone you know, anyone. Bring them before you. 2. Hear them tell you how great you are or how great things are going in their life or anything you wish. 3. Now practice the shift in the feeling. Feel this is real. They are actually telling me this. 4. Feel that shift that you just moved into this new world where you can actually hear what you want to hear. It is no longer just imaginary. Can you actually feel that? What you just heard was real, just as if it were to be heard in a 3D world. 5. That feeling is what Neville is trying to get you to feel when you imagine, so you stop wondering about the how or the when, and instead you experience it. Remove all the stress and simply experience it. 6. Once you start to feel your inner world to be real, then you will become free because you can imagine anything you desire. You can feel what you have always wanted to feel, that freedom. What else? Part 16. How do I enter into a new state of consciousness? Death. Death is the only way. How does one die to a state of consciousness? By surrendering to the new state. You cannot enter into a new state taking with you all the limitations, questions, and worries of the old state. The inner self must be exalted, but it cannot be exalted by holding two contradictory states. One must win, and the one you surrender to wins. Suppose you want to hear something or have something in your mind. The moment you decide to imagine or hear it, you start to question if it will work, or what the bridge will be, or when it will happen, or if the whole thing is fake. You are not entering into the state of your desire being fulfilled in your mind. You cannot take with you those worries and questions with you if you want to fulfill a desire in your mind. You must be willing to die to it completely. And what does this mean, to die to it? When you imagine having exactly what you want in your mind, you do not question anything, you do not worry, you do not wonder what if, you do not entertain the old state and its limitations for 1 second. You die to it entirely. You cannot bring your current limitations, worries, questions, and feelings with you to your new state. The states or concepts you hold in the imagination are nothing but things you hold. That is it. You think because a concept you are holding is reflecting in your world somehow makes it more real. I assure you it is not. It does not really matter if it is being reflected. These conceptions we hold of ourselves are nothing but what we, the inner self, have appropriated in the inner world of imagination. Appropriate something new, literally take it in imagination whatsoever you desire. But in order to actually take it, shed the old state and all its worries and limitations when you imagine something new. Once you die to the old state, you will enter into the new state, which is the mindset of having your desire. You will enter into the new state, and you will experience your desire in the present moment in your mind. The feeling of desire changes to feeling fulfillment. You will actually experience your desire and thoughts from the desire being fulfilled. this happens entirely naturally. Here is what I mean by present moment. Say you are imagining something you want. In order to be present, which is what you want, you have to stop questioning and wondering about anything. To be present is to not question, worry, or wonder. To be present is to experience the imaginal act as though it is happening to you right now, as if it was happening to you externally. Once you are present in the imaginal act, you will naturally feel completely fulfilled. You will feel radiant. Now here is something I enjoy doing in my mind. After I'm feeling present in my fulfilled desire, I will ask myself a simple question. What else do I want? I just ask this to show myself how unlimited I am in me, that my imagination cannot be exhausted. I want to prove that it will keep giving and giving and giving, regardless of the request or impossibility of the request. This teaches you that in the world of imagination, you are limitless. The inner self can have anything and feel anything it wants. This also shows you that you can intensify your wonderful feelings to a degree you did not know before. So I just asked that question repeatedly. I want to hear some good news? Okay, so I hear it. I hear it just as though it is happening to me right now, in the present moment. Say I want to change what someone said to me in the past. So I revise it. I revise it and hear what I wanted to hear, just as though I am hearing it externally. After that stirs up amazing feelings in me, I ask, what else? Maybe I want to feel entirely secure, so then I'll feel that as deep as I want. What else? Maybe I want to be shown love to me in the way I conceive of love, so I have it shown to me. What else? Maybe I want to see myself in a certain position in life, so I see it just as though this is my only reality. Okay, what else? Maybe I want to hear an extremely specific compliment, so I hear it, no problem. What else? Maybe I want to intensify these wonderful feelings to a degree I did not know existed, so I intensify it. Okay, what else? Maybe I want to see someone having success in life, so I hear them tell me wonderful things about their life. What else? Maybe I want to feel a memory that sparks wonderful feelings in me, so I remember. What else? Maybe I want to revise this one thing that happened to me when I was young, so I revise it. What else? Maybe I want to feel and imagine something that is impossible, so I do that. What else? Maybe my mind wanders upon a beautiful and pleasant scene, and I want to indulge myself in it, so I do that. What else? Maybe I'm curious as to know how it would feel if I had no fear at all, so I allow myself to let go of all fear, and I feel ecstasy. What else? Maybe I want to eat a certain food and drink a certain drink, so I do that. What else? Maybe I don't want to feel guilty, but instead feel amazing, so I do that. What else? And so on. The whole point is that I do whatever I want. Your wants or desires will be different, just fulfill them. Think of this almost like you are going up a set of steps of exaltation. I do not need anyone's permission. I do not have to advise a council or fear decadence. I do not need to fear anything in my mind. It is fear that makes you go down paths you do not wish to go. Go to the end in all things. Do not bother yourself with the middle, because that is not what you want to do. You want to fulfill your desires. When you fulfill your heart's desires in your mind, you are healing your heart. You are showing love towards yourself in your mind and everyone within it. I urge you to fulfill all of your desires daily. Leave the entire world alone and make an inner personal reality where it is perfect. Of course, perfect is different for everyone, so do not pressure yourself into thinking it must be a certain way. It is personal, very personal. To me, it is not imaginary, nor just in my mind. It is actually happening to me. I do not care if I am called crazy, or what the world thinks is crazy. I do not care what I should think. The world is filled with rules of what you should and shouldn't do. Where is the freedom in it? Find God and worship only God, and God is your own imagination, the cause. Test God in all things. And if God, the inner self, proves itself in reflection, who cares what people think? Take what you want in imagination, without price or permission. Your imagination will never deny you of imagining anything. Once you are in the present moment, or when you shift into feeling that it is actually happening to you, there is where the freedom lies. Once you get that shift, that this is real, then apply that to everything in imagination. Here is how you know you have shifted, when the limitations and questions of the old state cease. Dream the Dream, Part 17. You lay down, turn your lamp off, and pulled your blankets toward your chin. A deep breath escapes from your lips, and your body relaxes, just enough for the feeling of comfort to overtake you. You close your eyes and you enter into sleep. Next thing you know, you are awake. You look down at your hands, and you find yourself in a world just like this one. Something is slightly off, but you cannot put your finger on it. Then after contemplating it just a bit longer, you realize what is happening. You have awakened or became aware of the fact that you are awake inside a dream. You realize your body is back home on your bed, and you are awake in this dream. Now that you have this knowledge, you then decide to imagine something to see if it comes to pass. So you close your eyes and you imagine something, anything, and the moment you open your eyes, there it is right before you. You come to the realization that everything here is under the control of your imagination. Everything is in subjection to it. Knowing that you have this power, the question then becomes, what are you going to create? This is your own dream, and you can dream anything. What would you dream? If you could control everyone and everything, what would you do? If imagining creates instantly in this dream world, what would you imagine? There are no mistakes here because you can always correct every mistake. You are entirely free to create anything. What would you create? What would you see? What would you choose to hear? How would you be treated? What things would you give yourself? How would you create the perfect dream? This is how I look at my mind. When I imagine, I think of it like this, like I just awoke inside a dream, and I can dream anything I want before me. I can hear someone, anyone, it does not matter who, say what I want them to say. I can see what I want to see. Everything is under subjection to me in my mind. I mean this literally. Everything in your mind, no matter what it is under your control. In the dream world, there are no facts. Everything can be manipulated and transformed to your liking. Anyone who has awakened inside a dream understands the feeling I'm speaking of. You feel you can do and create anything. Knowing your body is asleep on the bed, you can leave the world entirely alone. There's nothing to do in the world because your body is asleep. Instead, you can do anything you like in imagination, and you can feel that allowing to let the outer world go. There's nothing to control in the world because the outer world does not matter anymore. All that matters is, what are you going to dream? This is the attitude I took with me after dreams like that. I realized that I can imagine anything I want. I can dream a dream greater than I once allowed myself to. I can feel what I want to feel. So when I lay down to imagine, I think of it as though my body is asleep, and there's nothing to do in the world. There's nothing to achieve. The only thing there is to do is to dream a greater dream. And the greatest dream to dream is the one where all your desires are fulfilled. When you make your imagining so specific to your liking, this causes feelings of euphoria to naturally spring up from you. Be bold and imagine specifically to your wants. Leave the world alone. Leave the idea of trying to manifest, and change self by imagining specifics, imagining a greater dream. If I can truly imagine anything I want, as specific as I want, and if my life truly shapes to my imagining, then it should be my highest interest to imagine better than the best I know. So if you wish to feel the feeling of the wish fulfilled, as Neville says, you must do what he says, to imagine as though it is here and now. The way you do that is to remove the outer world and remove the idea of trying to manifest, and simply have the attitude of changing your inner world to your liking. Just as if you were to awaken inside a dream and you can dream any dream you like. There's nothing to do, nothing to force on the outside. You change it, you mold it, you feel it, and you do it all within you. You create a new dream, a perfect dream within you. So it's a feeling. To try to manifest is a feeling. Trying to get, trying to resolve, trying to make something happen are feelings you take with you before you imagine. These feelings are what disrupt you from actually feeling what you want to feel. Instead, feel that you are solely going to reimagine or redream a new dream within you, and you will change your feeling how you feel within. Instead, feel that you are solely going to reimagine or redream a new dream within you, and you will change your feeling how you feel within. These changes are what expresses itself in the world. So if you wish to change the outer world, leave it alone. Leave it alone and go within and change that world, the world within. Change who you are there. Change what you are there. Change how you are treated there. Dream up a new world within. You can change the dream. Neville. In your meditation, allow others to see you as they would see you were this new concept of self a concrete fact. You always seem to others an embodiment of the ideal you inspire. Therefore, in meditation, when you contemplate others, you must be seen by them mentally as you would be seen by them physically were your concept of self an objective fact. That is, in meditation, you imagine that they see you expressing that which you desire to be. If you assume that you are what you want to be, your desire is fulfilled, and in fulfillment, all longing is neutralized. You cannot continue desiring what you have already realized. Your desire is not something you labor to fulfill. It is recognizing something you already possess. It is assuming the feeling of being that which you desire to be. Neville. I know this much. If you believe, feel, to the point of acceptance, life will be marvelous for you, perfectly wonderful, for this is the one secret in the world that everyone should aspire to solve. For God is that pure imaging in ourselves. He underlies all of our faculties, including our perception, but he streams into our surface mind least disguised in the form of productive fantasy. I sit here and have a daydream. Well, that's God in action. But then someone breaks it and I forget it. I didn't occupy it. I simply had a daydream, but without occupancy. That's one of the greatest fallacies of the world, perpetual construction. It's a daydream, deferred occupancy. I don't occupy it. I don't go in and possess it and make it mine. If I, in my imagination, could go right in and possess it, and clothe myself with the feelings of the wish fulfilled, actually clothe myself with it by assuming that it's done now, until I feel natural in that assumption, and that assumption, though at the moment denied by my senses, if persisted, will harden into fact. Neville. Your refusal to have it in your mind is the only reason why you do not feel it. Expansion, Part 18. I was asked a great question today. I realized I never addressed this in a post before, so I want to do that now. The question is, where do you feel it in your body? The answer will have a few layers to it, so bear with me. When I speak of feeling in my post, I capitalize it, because I do not mean a simple emotion. I do not mean just feel happy or relief. This is part of it, but I would be lying to you if I said that is all of it. It's not. There is a far greater feeling I am speaking of. I am speaking of a feeling that is unlike any emotion. When you actually feel that what you are seeing and hearing in imagination is real, it sparks a feeling that is unlike any emotion. You actually feel it is real. This means there is no getting, no achieving, no wondering if it is going to work, no trying to manifest, no feeling trapped or stuck. All of that vanishes the moment you actually enter into and feel your wish being granted. Meaning, let's say you want to hear very, very specific news, so you hear it in the mind. Can you actually feel that it is happening to you while you are hearing it, just as if it was happening to you in this 3D reality? Can you bring your imagination to feel as real as this 3D? If you were to hear good news here in this world, wouldn't you just hear it and feel whatever you would naturally feel if you hear it? Now imagine you are hearing exactly what you want to hear. This is not going to just spark a basic emotion. You will feel a shift happening within you, and you will lose yourself in your imaginal act. There's nothing stressful about it, nothing you have to do. You just have to experience the act that would imply you succeeded and feel it real. I'm speaking of feeling it just as though it is real, that what you are seeing in your mind is not fake. And not only is it not fake, you can shape it precisely how you want to shape it. This sparks a feeling inside that is unlike any emotion I know. It's an acceptance of the imaginal experience being real. This feeling is an opening, a shift in the mind, an experience that actually changes you to the point you lose yourself entirely in the imaginal act. It does not happen instantly for me, but I can enter it faster if I just accept it is real. In order to actually lose yourself in the imaginal act, one must accept it is real and let go entirely of the outer world. One must suspend rational thinking and just accept it is real. They will free themselves that way in their mind. You expand beyond the limits that you have placed on yourself within. In order to access this feeling, you must not be afraid to assume it is real. If you are not feeling it, then that means you are still bound by your senses in this outer world. You need to allow yourself the freedom to expand beyond the rational mind that is keeping you from experiencing your wish being granted. You cannot be afraid anymore to feel and imagine what you want. So it is more than a basic emotion. It is a shift in feeling that what great news you are hearing or what great things you are seeing are no longer fake but real. This sparks within you a feeling you cannot describe easily with words. I want you to think of it this way. Take, for example, déjà vu. Would you claim that déjà vu is an emotion? Probably not. It is certainly a feeling, a very peculiar feeling, but not just a basic emotion. And so likewise, this feeling I speak of, this entering into the imaginal act and shifting into it, and feeling that it is real, it is not just a basic emotion, but it feels like a shift. You feel this feeling that you just moved into the desire fulfilled. You are now experiencing your desire being fulfilled. So when I feel that shift of entering into the world within, and I hear and see what I want, I experience having my desire. I get a feeling that is unlike any basic emotion. Sometimes it starts with a basic question like, what if it was true? Then I accept it to be true, a fact in my mind, and the moment I do this, I feel that feeling, that shift. Or I ask, what would bring me the most relaxation and ecstasy if it was true? What reality would bring me the most joy? So then I proceed to imagine it, but that is not enough. I must now feel that it is my reality, my actual reality. How wonderful would that feel? Or I should say, how wonderful does it feel? The more and more you practice this, the easier it gets. It is only challenging because you are still listening to your rational mind. If you keep practicing this, you will see you can do anything in your mind. It becomes more and more natural to accept your perfect imaginal act. It feels like I just gave my body a relaxation it has never felt before. I've practiced this a lot now, and I still get that feeling, because you can always make your scene, thought, better and lovelier, which produces a greater feeling. For example, suppose you wanted to feel healthy, so you ask yourself, what if I was healthy? What if I never felt better? So then you proceed to imagine it. Only in imagination, you see yourself expressing beautiful health. Well, can you feel that is actually happening? Can you let go of the outer world and experience that just as though it is 3D? Then you make it lovelier and ask, what if everyone around me as well was experiencing great health? So you see others healthy. You hear them tell you how wonderful they feel. Can you actually feel them telling you that? That there would be no difference if you heard it internally or externally. To you it is just the same. That is the feeling I'm speaking of. So when this happens, I feel an effect in my body. The effect gives my body, personally, a feeling of an opening in my mind, an opening underneath my solar plexus, gut, an opening in my chest. I feel alive and open, and my breath deepens, and I naturally breathe through my stomach. My body feels relaxed and opened. Anxieties and worries cease. Again, I do not force this. This is an effect from feeling it real in my mind. I never force myself to do anything in mind. I create a reality within me that I would love to be in. I imagine and feel myself to be there, and I accept it as mine. When you create a reality you love to be in, you will find it so natural to think from it. But only if you love it, because if you love it, you will persist in it. Sometimes I will feel actual gratitude, not always, but true and honest gratitude. There is a difference. There is a gratitude you are feeling just to manifest something, and there is a gratitude that springs up from within you naturally, because you have it in the mind. But gratitude is not a necessity, just a byproduct for me. Remember, all things are possible within. So it is in your best interest to create a reality where it is perfect for you. When I speak of feeling, I do not mean emotion, but acceptance of the fact that the desire is fulfilled. Neville. Question. I find it difficult to change my concept of self. Why? Answer. Because your desire to change has not been aroused. If you would fall in love with what you really want to be, you would become it. It takes an intense hunger to bring about a transformation of self. As the hart panteth after the water brooks, so panteth my soul after thee, O Lord. If you would become as thirsty for perfection as the little hart is for water, that it braves the anger of the tiger in the forest, you would become perfect. Neville. So to change, you must fall in love with what you want to imagine. This means you must give yourself the freedom to imagine what you love. This is how you change. Keep shaping the reality within you until you love it. Just like a potter, you shape and mold until it is your liking. Then you will fall in love with it. Then when you fall in love, you will change because you cannot resist what you love within. Fear causes stagnancy, but love transforms. So you learn to let go of fear within yourself and go after what you love. What would you love to have and experience? Then do it. Don't just hear the question, do it. Do it right now in imagination. It is done in your imagination, Neville. It is my hope that you do not wish to die a hero's death or some martyr's death, but that you really want to live fully and graciously in this world of ours. Live lovingly. If you want money, let no one tell you you shouldn't have money. If you want to extend yourself and be a great artist in the world, let no one tell you that you shouldn't be a great artist. Neville. There is no other creator within you. You create everything that you experience within yourself. Boldness, Part 19. I will persist in feeling that which, if true, implies the fulfillment of my dream. And if you do it, no power in the world can stop you from realizing your dream, but no power. Because causation is mental, it isn't physical. You say that is selfish. Forget it. It's all part of your own wonderful imagination. So tonight you try it. Try it and see how it works, not if it works. Because not, I'll think about it. Try it and see how it works. Take every person's request and then do it in feeling, not in words. There are millions of people across the country who will declare, I am rich, I am rich, I am rich. In the depths, all they are feeling, where's the next dollar coming from? They are feeling poverty, but declaring in words, I am rich, doesn't work that way. As we said earlier, I'll teach one little child to say, when someone gives you something, thank you. If someone is kind to them, say thank you. Teach them how to say thank you, but I need not ever teach anyone how to feel it. So how do I feel it? Not the words. Get below the words into the feeling. Well, what am I feeling? You try it. Good news is that everything in this world that you want, you can have if you clothe yourself with it. Clothe yourself with it. You want to be rich. How would you feel were you rich? You want to be healthy. How would you feel were you healthy? You want to be free of all embarrassment. How would you feel this night if you were not embarrassed, that not a thing in this world could embarrass you? How would you feel were it so? And clothe yourself with these states, one after the other, and be faithful to the clothing that you wear, and let it unfold in your world. It will. It will completely unfold in your world, and you will see it. Neville. Imagining the end is not the problem. Imagining what you want to imagine is not the problem. Anyone can think of anything, but not everyone can feel what they want. So the problem is not a thinking problem, but a feeling problem. You may imagine the most marvelous things. You may be bold and profess you are the greatest being in the world in your mind, but can you have that same boldness in your feeling? Can you do an entire day feeling what you wish to feel? Then nothing can harm you, nothing can embarrass you, and you are abundant in all things. Certainly, you can think these things, but can you feel them to be true? How much longer until you become bold and feel the marvelous things? How many more days will you carry the angst with you? It is all your creation, you know, for there is no other creator within you. Just as you are bold in your thinking, become bold in your feeling. To shy away and become fearful of those glorious, freeing, blissful feelings, the feelings you want to have, you are rejecting yourself from that experience. Become selfish in your feelings and feel whatsoever you desire. May you desire to feel you have never made a mistake and you won't in your future. Maybe you want to feel you have a clean slate in life. Maybe you desire to feel that your world will continually show you love. Do these thoughts seem impossible to feel for you? If they do, this is when you must become bold and feel. Overcome the angst and fear and feel. It is your mind anyways, and if you do not feel after these, you will feel after less. You will feel after your limitations. So how bold can you be in your feeling? So listen to these words again. Re-listen to this daily until it saturates your mind with feeling. Just as you are bold enough to imagine the thoughts you desire, become bold enough to feel the feelings you desire. Do not just think beyond your limitations. Feel beyond your limitations. Feel what otherwise would seem impossible to you in your mind. Your mind is your own personal reality, and you have the power to shape it precisely and feel what you want in it. This is about giving the inner self what you want, the inner self desires to feel. 1. Go within yourself, remove the outer world, and only change self. And ask yourself a simple question. What is it that I deeply want to feel? It will usually be something that if you did feel it, you would feel so blissful and free. Maybe it's feeling you no longer have to worry about this or that that you no longer have to feel embarrassed about your life, or that this certain problem is over with. Nothing can harm you or embarrass you, and you no longer have to walk on eggshells. Maybe you want to feel you are doing nothing wrong, and you always do the loving thing to others, or that the past no longer haunts you, and you are free to leave it behind you and imagine from a clean slate. It does not matter what it is, as long as it is something that the moment you try to feel, it brings you fear. 3. Once you feel that initial fear, understand that you are rejecting yourself from that wonderful experience and that fear is solely and entirely created by you. There is no meaning behind it. It is your creation that you are giving your attention to. I will give you a little secret. I have never regretted feeling after what I wanted to feel. 4. Once the fear comes, and now you know you are the creator of that fear, understand that in your mind, you can feel safe to feel and give yourself exactly what you want. It is your own personal reality, and you can have and feel what you desire. Once this fear is overcome, there will be feelings of freedom, bliss, ecstasy, relief, and so on. You will start to feel like a new person. 5. But you must be bold and feel beyond your limitations. Be as bold with your feelings as you are with your thoughts. Receptivity, Part 20. In this series, I've spent most of my time speaking on appropriation. It is learning to take what is yours in your mind. That includes things, words, and feelings. That your mind is your own personal reality. That you are either its God or its servant. Or should I say, God believing he is a servant. You are either the God, creator of your assumptions, or their master in your mind. There is no other creator in your mind. There is only yes in the mind. There is no neutrality. Now I want to speak on receptivity. I found this to be important when it comes to imagining. I have noticed within myself a resistance created by me. I wanted to understand why I was creating a resistance. Here is what I learned. I am creating the resistance because I am afraid of letting my outer world go, and I am afraid of accepting the wonderful things within me. So this calls for an attitude change. You must know what you want before you can ask for it. You must know what you want before you can feel that you have it. And prayer is the feeling of the fulfilled desire. It does not matter what it is you seek in prayer, or where it is or whom it concerns. You have nothing to do but convince yourself of the truth of that which you desire to see manifested. Neville. Sit quietly where you are and assume the mental attitude of listening. Recall your friend's voice. With this familiar voice established in your consciousness, imagine that you are actually hearing his voice and that he is telling you that he is or has that which you wanted him to be or to have. You assume a receptive attitude of mind. You remain in this receptive state until you feel the thrill of having heard the good and wonderful news. Neville. Receptivity. Willingness to consider or accept new suggestions and ideas. Suppose 3 people walked into a mall. In this mall, you can take anything you want. One person went into the mall with the attitude that they were going to say no to everything they see. The second person went into the mall not sure of what they wanted. They could never make a decision. The third person went in with the attitude that since they are allowed to have anything, they would choose precisely what they wanted. Now I want you to notice how the one who said no and the one who was not sure was left with nothing. They gained nothing and stayed in their present state of mind. So the point of this analogy is to show you that when you enter into the world of imagination, to enter into it with an attitude of receptivity, an attitude of willingness to accept what you want. Deny. A state that one refuses to admit the truth or existence of. Now we come to denying. That is to say, that we must truly let go of what the outer world is showing us. True denial is not looking at your world and merely repeating, it does not exist, but it is actually accepting the new reality within you. You do not deny being unwanted by stating you are not unwanted. You deny unwantedness with the acceptance of being wanted. It is our acceptance of our imagination which is our denial of the senses. So denying is not something you do. It is the implication of your acceptance of the imaginal scene. To stress yourself on whether you are denying the evidence of your senses is enough of an unnecessary stressor. You do not fight against your senses, for they only reflect you. Because true denial, as Neville says, is total indifference. But to be totally indifferent about your senses, you must accept your imagination as the reality. To become indifferent is an emerging consequence of accepting imagination as the one and only reality. Man looks at his outer world, his reflection, and feels it is challenging to give it up, even if it is harmful. But that is the only sacrifice that is required of him. Man must be willing to give up his current reflection in order to enter into and feel his desired place in the mind. And the only way man can truly give it up is if he imagines something he loves, a reality within him that he loves, something that melts the fear away. If man loves it, man will commit to it. With this in mind, assume an attitude of receptivity, that you are not only willing, but eager to accept all the wonderful gifts that you are discovering within yourself. The mind tells you, stop telling me what you don't want and tell me what you are. There's nothing you are not allowed to imagine and feel in your mind. You cannot wait for the world to change to what you want. You must change what you are and have an imagination. If you are tired of what your world is reflecting, you can be confident it will keep reflecting that until you change. Until you change you inside your consciousness. This calls for radically giving yourself what you desire in consciousness. View your mind as a place you are safe and free to feel and have what you desire. This will stir within an attitude of receptivity. This will allow you to feel it as the only reality that is under your control. Go entirely all out in your mind without fear. So before you meditate on the things you love, assume an attitude of receptivity. You are willing and eager to accept the lovely reality you are discovering within yourself. Do not limit yourself to the past. Neville. Whatever your human reasoning says, learn to accept the great gifts that you discover within yourself. Edward Art. Therefore, the individual who can summon at will whatever imaginal activity he pleases, and to whom the visions of his imagination are as real as the forms of nature, is master of his fate. Neville, The Law and the Promise. This quote of Neville's is what I'm trying to get across in this series. Irrationality, Part 21. Therefore, the individual who can summon at will whatever imaginal activity he pleases, and to whom the visions of his imaginations are as real as the forms of nature, is master of his fate. Neville. In the end, I'm asking you to be irrational. Yes, I know that this is not what you want to hear. We all wish to be as rational as possible. I try my best in my posts to keep this rational, so understanding can be met. But in the end, I'm asking you to believe your imagination is real. Do you want someone calling you brilliant? Do you want to buy that item? Do you want to paint something great? Do you want to write a brilliant book? Do you want to hear great news? Do you want to feel you are the greatest being imaginable? Do you want someone you admire calling you brilliant? Do you want to feel prestigious and diplomatic? Do you want to feel that everyone in your mind loves you? Do you want to feel that you are in control of everyone within because you are? Do you want to hear what you want to hear? Do you want to feel what you want to feel, not what you have to feel? Do you want to stop having excuses for not feeling what you want to feel? Do you want to feel yourself to be infinite? Do you want to feel oneness? Do you want to finally feel safe to express yourself how you want with no judgment? Do you want to feel that all of that is real? What do you want? Do it in the mind first. Nobody will know what you are doing. It is in secret. Go big and bigger than you are comfortable with feeling in the mind. Chances are you truly are not giving yourself what you want because you feel some impossibility in it. Forget that. All things are possible in the imagination. Do it anyways. Just do it. Do what? What you deeply want. Do it for only you, your inner self. I do not mean just to think thoughts that are within the framework and limitation of the senses, meaning just think, I can have good friends, good hobbies, nice career, etc. I mean go beyond it. Something that you want, that you think is a bit far out of reach. Do it anyways. Fulfillment is not on the outside, but within. We are supposed to fulfill desires in that world, the world of imagination, because that is where my real self is. You may say I am being irrational, thinking thoughts and feelings that may never happen in my life. Even I, myself, can feel that, but at this point, I don't care anymore. It is what I, my inner self, the real me wants. I must grant it to myself or I suffer. I suffer where? In my mind. I have found that the greatest difficulty in this life is to do and feel what we want to do in our minds. Isn't that something? The place where we actually can have what we want. We find difficulty to do what we want. Why on earth would we not give ourselves what we want? Even if it is impossible, why not? Fulfill it with feeling and move on. Just do it anyways. You will not regret fulfilling every desire within you. This life is too short to not live in a position of beauty, honor, wealth, and love in the mind. Man is only reacting in his natural or Satan state. He never acts or creates. He only reacts or recreates. One real creative moment, one real feeling of the wish fulfilled, is worth more than the whole natural life of reaction. Neville. Far too often, we allow ourselves to get in the way of what we want in the mind. We think that if something happens, we must feel a certain feeling within the framework and restrictions of the senses. If something we do not like happens, we think we must feel bad, angry, etc. Some even think that if you don't feel these things, that they are rejecting their true feelings. No, you reject your true feelings the moment you do not feel what you want to feel. That moment you are rejecting. If someone says something to me I dislike and I feel hurt, and I do not wish to feel hurt but at peace, but I think that I must feel hurt by their words, and I do not feel what I want to feel, which is peace, what am I really rejecting there? I reject peace, what I want. Every ounce of me might feel hurt initially, but is that what I truly want to feel? The moment I entertain my want, which is peace, I have now risen from the limitation of the senses, and I entered into the world of wants. From here, I feel what I want. I do not have to react that way anymore if I do not wish to. Maybe it makes no sense to the person why I feel peace, but fulfilling my inner desires requires no consultation with anyone. My rational mind may feel hurt as a reaction, but my inner self, my true self, wants to rise above this plane and feel what I want to feel regardless of rationality. What is rational for Neville to think he can bilocate, being in two places at once? Was it rational for Neville to think all will conspire and aid him for his desires? Was it rational for Neville to believe imagination is his real self? Is any of this rational? Was it rational to Neville to remove all ideas of how life should be lived in his mind? Was it rational for him to just do and feel whatever he wanted? Was it rational for him to feel that what he was experiencing in his mind was real? It is rational for the weak to say, I am strong, Joel 3:10. It is rational for the low to say, I am great, for the poor to say, I am wealthy, for those who think, feel, they are unloved to say, feel, I am loved. Prayer to the mind is not a string of words. To pray for love is to feel yourself to be loved. To pray for riches is to feel riches. To pray for strength is to feel yourself to be strong. I am taking and took the leap in my mind. Are you willing? Willing to what? To give up this 3D being the only reality. Are you willing to give up your reactions to it and instead go to your wants? Are you willing to finally see it as a reflection of you? Of who? Your inner self. Are you willing to finally live in a place where you want to in your mind? The fool who persists in his folly will become wise. William Blake. The Dreamer, Part 22. But man is afraid. He dare not so abandon himself to a dream, and so never dies. Neville. This to me, if understood, will free you entirely. Man truly is afraid of his dreams. Man desires to hold on to his limitations, thinking that they are his safety. His beliefs on who he is the ultimate false god in his life. He thinks the limitations and restrictions he holds of himself keep him alert, cautious, and safe. Fear becomes his home, and it becomes his family. Worry becomes his father, shame becomes his mother, and ambivalence becomes his character. He stares outside his house, wishing to leave this home of fear, but the thought of leaving terrifies him as well. Abandoning the home and family, turning his back on it sparks terror in himself. He cannot see, he cannot hear his dreams. They all become a fantasy, a lie. Fear is mixed in all decision-making, thus making it feel impossible to escape. How can man let go of this fear? Man can only let go of this fear when he accepts he is not man. In order for man, this outer man, to be free from all fear, he must accept he is the dreamer, the creator of this life, the inner man. He created the fear, the house, his family. This outer man thinks he must work his way out of fear. He thinks if he just fights back to these parents of worry and shame, then he will overcome his fear. Or he thinks if he just accomplishes something in the physical reality, then his fears will subside. Never seeing he is the creator, the cause, he always fails. The idea that he does not have to do anything, he does not have to work his way out, that in fact it is impossible for man to do anything, this idea is lunacy to the outer man. He thinks, no, there must be a way that I just have not figured out yet. So he goes on seeking outside of himself, yet he himself is a desiring self, and only seeing his reflection, he only sees his desires. Never obtaining them, always seeking them. Frustrations, rage, jealousy, and the deadliest sins of all stir up within him. Hating his world, hating what he sees, hating his own reflection, he wants to destroy it. He cannot win because he lives in a position of fear and failure, and what is within will be without, because man can only give what is within himself. If only he were to stop hating his reflection and saw that the mirror only reflects what he is doing, he would be free. If only he were to see the mirror is stationary and does not judge but simply reflects. If only he were able to see himself in the mirror and see he is the creator, he would be free. If I cannot do anything, then how do I change? Man asks. The answer is death. Death is the only way for the dreamer to change his dream world. The fear of death is the most terrifying thing to man. Man thinks he will not rise if he dies, but if he saw himself as the dreamer, the creator, then he would see he is the creator of death itself. The dreamer cannot die. Even with this knowledge, man is still afraid to die to his present limitations. The thought of yielding to what is only a dream is death, and death is frightening. Man cannot ask, what if it does not work? What if I am being crazy? What if I fail? These cannot be asked. Man must fully give up all questions, all limitations, all shame, all the reasons why he cannot be what he desires, or have what he desires. He has to give up why he thinks he is unworthy, or how difficult it will be to become what he wants. All feelings of fear and feelings contrary to his dream must be surrendered. Life as he knows it in his current reality must cease to be, but this is all frightening for man to do. Man will never be free unless he knows how to die mentally, unless he knows how to abandon himself entirely. He remains as he is. How can man yield if yielding requires death, and death is too frightening for him? To do this, man identifies himself as the dreamer of his life. This entire experience he has had is his dream. Knowing that he is the creator, the dreamer, he then can give himself anything he wishes. The dreamer of this lucid dream of life is the ultimate state man can assume he is. So while man desires to be something, he must die, but the dreamer cannot die. The dreamer has the power of resurrection. Having this acceptance that he is the creator, he then can effortlessly die to what is only his current reflection. If something befalls man that he dislikes, he thinks he cannot die to it and resurrect something new in his dream immediately. If someone says something to him that he dislikes, he holds on to it, judges his reflection, and becomes violent, wishing he could have told them off. He goes on murmuring under his breath all the things he wished he could have said to so-and-so, imagining away arguments, fights, shame, and violence, thinking he will be victorious this time. Yet he always falls short, and the cycle continues. The only way to escape from this wheel is to die. Instead of arguing, fighting, shaming oneself, can he yield to a dream that fulfills what he is trying to do? Yes, man deeply desires to get even with so-and-so, but can he instead see it as his reflection? And from this understanding, can he dream an entirely new conversation, an entirely new situation that is fulfilling? Can man stop feeling that he is losing something by yielding to a dream? Can he see that death and resurrection are the greatest gifts he has? To die to limitations is to gain in the resurrection. If this art is practiced in the mind, man will find himself dying daily to what he once called his safety. He will see he does not have to cope with his limitations. He does not have to fight his way out. He will stop feeling after his fears and become indifferent about them, for they are his creation and have no power over him. Whenever he desires, he can die to what he thinks of so-and-so, what he thinks of himself, and see them how he would love to see them, how he would love to see himself. Knowing it is his dream, and he is the dreamer, he can completely die to his current limitations and feelings, and become and feel to what was only once a dream. Knowing it is his dream, he has full confidence that if he changes himself, he will see the change in his dream. He can detach himself at any time from this reflection and feel what he wants to feel, see what he wants to see, and hear what he wants to hear. Slight alterations of the inner self breed mixed results. The dreamer must completely change. The dreamer does not think his dreaming is fantasy, but it is actual reality, a reality in which he is in complete control. These dreams are not distant off realities to the dreamer in hopes he will one day realize them. No, to the dreamer, his dreams are happening now. Accepting that they are happening now is resurrection. If man truly dies to his limitations, he will not have to fight his way out. To him, the mental activity is happening now, and the now requires death of the limiting now. You trade one now, outer reality, for another now, inner reality. Man usually does not trade. He wants to hold on to the limitations just in case and hope for the desired reality to come. But this is not change, and there is no one to change but self. But the key word here is change. True change requires death. When man sees he is a dreamer who has the power of death and resurrection, ideas of shame, violence, and fear become obstacles, not safety. These limiting thoughts belong to those who are unaware life is a reflection. They see an opposition instead of themselves. They will toil and wrestle with it until they see themselves. The dreamer will stop seeing opposition and will see that this reflection only shames him because he shames himself. The dreamer does not experience love because he has not dreamt himself the state of being absolutely loved. The dreamer does not experience what he wants because he does not dream what he wants. The dreamer stops reacting to this world and starts acting within. The dreamer realizes none can harm him unless he himself allows it. The dreamer is afraid of his power and exercises it lovingly upon himself and then naturally upon others. The dreamer operates at the highest state because the highest estates are his to have. The dreamer does not ask anyone's permission to dream what he wants, to feel what he wants. The dreamer knows all is his, and if he was hungry, he would not tell anyone. Psalm 50:12. If he desired an outcome, he will give himself the outcome, and to the dreamer, that is fact. The dreamer can make Satan pray. The dreamer can make Satan pray and kings bow. The dreamer can conjure whatever feeling he desires and can feel them as deep as his wishes. The dreamer can conjure whatever feeling he desires and can feel them as deep as he wishes. The dreamer is unafraid of any thought he has within himself. The dreamer is unafraid of his own greatness. The dreamer will command others to see him how he desires to be seen in imagination. The dreamer does not give others the option to choose and makes all conform to his new image. The dreamer realizes when he is afraid, he simply fell back into the state of man, for only man can fear. The dreamer always sees beyond what is and makes what is conform to what he desires. The dreamer assumes he has what he wants and knows his dream will give him what he assumes. The dreamer abandons limitations and turns towards his desires and gives it to himself fully and shamelessly. The dreamer will always dream beyond what his limitations dictate. You are the dreamer and this is your dream. Assume this position. Unconditional Thinking, Part 23. To truly grasp the freedom that is attainable within you, you must understand the concept of states. A state is a belief about yourself or what you believe you will experience, an attitude towards life. Imagination is not a state. Imagination is the real self, which I call the inner self. the inner self can be and have what he wishes in the world of imagination. It cannot be stressed enough that you, the inner self, is not a state. Forget this garment and the outer world when you meditate, and assume that the world of imagination is the only reality, and you, inner self, yourself, are the God in that world. Once this change in self-identification is made, you will discover that within your mind is a room filled with clay statues. These clay statues are of yourself performing certain actions, receiving certain treatment, and having certain things. There are infinite statues that lie dormant within you. They do not disappear, for nothing can disappear in imagination. They simply lie in the shadows of the room, mind. You give life to these statues by feeling yourself to be one with it, not as something you will be in the near future, but something you are now. The acceptance that you are the state now is what brings life to these dormant statues. If entering into a new state within you is challenging, it is because you have not accepted who you are within. You are not a state, but it's God. As God within, whose permission are you asking for? To whom do you answer to? If there is only one being within you, then who can stop you? Just as though there is death and life in this outer world, there is death and life in the world of imagination. However, you are death and the life. To navigate in the world of imagination successfully, it requires death entirely to what current state you are fused with. Death is the only way to bring life to a new state. This is what I mean by death. If you wish to rise as something new in imagination, you have to give up entirely your current thoughts, feelings, questions, worries, what you think of the world, what you think is possible, if you think you are worthy or not, if you deserve the new state, etc. These belong to the old state and cannot be brought with you into the now. They have to be entirely discarded. Now listen to the words of Neville in the lecture. Repentance is a gift from God. But grant me the freedom to change it, my state. Don't leave me in this state if I desire to get out of it. Yet many a person wallows in it, and wallows in it morning, noon, and night, and they are totally unaware they are doing it. They will say, "Oh yes," and then 5 seconds later, they are back in that state. The older man. I've had interviews with people who will say to me, "This is what I would like, but I must first tell you, don't tell me anything. Tell me what you want. They are only states." They insist on wallowing in all the things of the past. Neville. Don't tell me anything. That is the secret. Total self-abandonment to the current state is a way to bring life towards a new state. So before you assume a new state, understand who is the one doing the assuming. The inner self, who is God, is the one. The I am that precedes the state. The I am is the God in the world of imagination, and this life is the expression of the I am. Man cannot even be a living being unless God fuses with him and states, "I am a man." There is only God in this world. So again, imagination, the inner self, is not a state. Repeat this over and over until you understand what I'm saying. Understanding this is the difference between shaming yourself and rising anew, between punishment and forgiveness, between being stuck and freedom in the mind. You have to die to what you do not want to express entirely, a true act of surrender. You can do it. Practice this art every day on others in your world. Imagine the very best for your neighbor. See them glowing, radiant. Do not put any condition upon it. Just see them that way, without any justification or reason. A true, loving, unconditional act. Doing this for others will make it easier to do it for oneself. So leave the world alone and go within, and die to what you want to stop expressing, and allow yourself to be what you want. Imagination is the evidence you are seeking for. It is the only reality. I call this way of thinking unconditional thinking. You may say, "But I once did this or that, or I was abused in my past. I'm afraid of my future, etc." All understandable. But what do you want? You want freedom. You want peace in your body. You want love. You want to stop fearing life. Its counterpart exists within you, only that it is dormant. You may have all the reasons in the world for why you feel you must stay in the state of being unloved. But I tell you, if you want to be loved, you do not have to hold on to the feelings of being unloved anymore. You do not have to reason your way into being loved. There are no physical acts you must do first in order to accept the new state. It can be given unconditionally, for imagination does not hold it against you, for it is only a state, and you are not a state. The imagination is forgiving, because thought, feeling, is what is creating your world, and imagination does not restrict you from any thought, feeling, regardless of your reasons. Unconditionally become what you want to be in imagination. I want you to see how the imagination is your savior if you allow yourself to assume the best for yourself. He holds success in store for the upright. He is a shield to those whose walk is blameless. Proverbs 2:7. The He is your imagination. If you assume you are blameless, your imagination reality will become a shield for you. Who can punish a man who is blameless? Assume you are upright, and success will be in store for you. Assume all works in your favor to express your states. This is how the imagination works. Blameless or blamable, they are only states of feeling towards self. A state is powerless until it is provided with I am. I am is not a state, so do not feel guilty for taking a better state. Do not feel you are doing something wrong for giving yourself feelings of bliss. Everything within you is yourself for the taking. Think unconditionally, and as Neville says, don't tell me anything, tell me what you want. They are only states. And as of early mid-October 2021, this is the final chapter of EdwardArtSupplyHands' series. But be on the lookout for his Reddit, for his future posts, and also a future book he is writing. The links will be in the info section beneath this video.